From we enter inside, I come through and lift up the vibe. That's just what we bring, we get like. Gonna get this party started alright, all night. Got the rhythm on deck, I don't need to tell you what's next. Just jump to the rhythm and show me two-step. Jump to the rhythm and show me two-step. Got my cup full, I'm fine. Head to toe in that drip, I'm wavy. Couple man I ain't seen from time. Couple girl I might move to wine. Like, hey miss, if it's no crime, would you let this one dance be mine? But even if the stars don't align, ain't no way I'm gonna lose my shine. It's pure vibes on the floor. You got drinks? Brought some more. Got my brethren, all about. We ain't rich, we ain't poor. We're just flexing on the ends. I might text a couple more friends and get loose. It's the vibe when the man I run up inside. From we enter inside, I come through and lift up the vibe. That's just what we bring, we get like. Gonna get this party started alright, all night. Got the rhythm on deck, I don't need to tell you what's next. Just jump to the rhythm and show me two-step. Jump to the rhythm and show me two-step.
Taste it, wishing that you would just embrace it. Thinking to myself, could you take this? You said I want a challenge, so I'm willing to face it. Yeah, you got that symmetry. You touch me heavily, got hit so instantly. You make me high. Want you, you got me. Just take it from me, it's real. You make me sad. You got that something in your eyes, something in your eyes. from it. It's real. You make me say you got that something in your eyes, something in your eyes. You got that something in your eyes, something in your eyes. You like it like that. Pleasure is pain, yeah, you're wanting to tap. Tell by your eyes, girl, there's no need to ask. You're so connected, don't wanna detach. You get me high, I don't wanna come down, and I mean it. Girl, you're the realest, want me to win it tonight. Is our secret, hoping you keep it. You got that something in your eyes, something in your eyes.
It came through like a hurricane, blowing right through my brain. That boy drives me insane, like a hole in the head. Swarm off like a hex end. I saw him flirt with my best friend, but he knows my address and finds a way to my bed. I know I should give you up. They say love is just bad luck. I can't seem to shake you off of me. One more chance is all you need. You got the best of me. Could you be my boyfriend just for the weekend? Could you be my boyfriend just for the weekend? Could you be my boyfriend just for the weekend? Yeah, I see it, this ain't right. We argue all day and love all night. Baby, you're like poison. Why do I need you more than drink you up and spit you out? I'm drowning in this loveless trap, falling to pieces. This hurting is needless. I know I should give you up. They say love is just bad luck. I can't seem to shake you off of me. No, one more chance is all you need. You got the best of me. Could you be my boyfriend just for the weekend? Could you be my boyfriend just for the weekend? Don't wanna be friends just for the weekend. Could you be my boyfriend just for the weekend? Don't wanna be friends, you're just for the weekend.
Look at what we gonna done, we done. Look at what we've all become. Tell me when you're gonna learn. Tell me when you're gonna learn. You're the one that beats the drum, the drum. You're the barrel of the gun, the gun. Tell me when you're gonna learn. Tell me when you're gonna learn. What you gonna do now, eh? What you gonna say now, eh? We can move the world now, eh? We can start again now, eh? Tell me when you're gonna learn. Tell me when you're gonna learn. We can make it if we try, we try. We can make a new life, new life. Tell me when you're gonna learn. Tell me when you're gonna learn. We can set the world alight, alight. We can do it if we fight, we fight. Tell me when you're gonna learn. Tell me when you're gonna learn. What you gonna do now, eh? What you
Kamikaze flying off the top. I done posted, I just live a lot. Yeah. Look at my watch in the rotation. Pass the smoke in the rotation. Ooh, that's so awesome. Get up above me if you're not bossy. Ooh, not too frosty. It's appalling the way you're bossy. Yeah. Watch me do this without no hands. I'ma do this without no hands. Flexing on them, do my money dance. Watch me do this without no hands. Yeah. No hands. Yeah. No hands. Flexing on them, do my money dance. Watch me do this without no hands. Better look easy, ooh. Got a new freeze on my wrist, ooh. Rella, you know I won't stop for you. I don't need permission to do what I do. Ooh, that's so awesome. Get up above me if you're not bossy. Ooh, not too frosty. It's appalling the way you're bossy. Yeah. Watch me do this without no hands. I'ma do this without no hands. Flexing on them, do my money dance. Watch me do this without no hands. Yeah. No hands. Yeah. No hands. Flexing on them, do my money dance. Watch me do this without no hands.
Made it look easy, too easy. No pressure, no effort, believe. Undefeated, that's our key. Say you wanna smoke, but now you weak.
Ooh,
I'm a top dog, like Lamar. Get you put in park,
ooh,
dripping in sauce. Green like boss, I'm gon' win regardless.
watch me do this without no hands. I'ma do this without no hands. Flexing on them, do my money dance. Watch me do this without no hands. Yeah. No hands. Yeah. No hands. Flexing on them, do my money dance. Watch me do this without no hands.
wanna stay with you. Watch your pleasure on the foamy ground. Show you, baby, baby, wet time. I'm fending in the platch on the floor. Wait tonight on the floor. I feel my call through your baby eye when you lick my brain, chasing all this fight. I feel insane, you drag me up. I love you when you wanna let me play. You feel the same, I'm watching you when I drink your water. You are ready to be all over me and over me. Inside, fingers under. Maybe I won't eat, maybe I won't go. Face of grace, it makes or breaks. Then my feet over my chest. The end, well, the end. I break down my knees, go before the rest. I feel my call through your baby eye when you lick my brain, chasing all this fight. I feel insane, you drag me up. I love you when you wanna let me play. You feel the same, I'm watching you when I drink your water. You are ready to be all over me and over me inside. Inside, my chest before the rain, over me.
Mr. DJ, play me. Have a few drinks, let's get wavy. I'll be out on a good night, sipping Grey Goose from my left hand, things get crazy. Mr. DJ, play me. Have a few drinks, let's get wavy. I'll be out on a good night, sipping Grey Goose from my left hand, things get crazy. Let's get wavy. Let's get wavy. Let's get wavy. Till things get crazy. Let's get wavy. Let's get wavy. Let's get wavy. Till things get crazy. Mr. DJ, play me. Have a few drinks, let's get wavy. I'll be out on a good night, sipping Grey Goose from my left hand, things get crazy. Mr. DJ, play me. Have a few drinks, let's get wavy. I'll be out on a good night, sipping Grey Goose from my left hand, things get crazy. Let's get wavy. Let's get wavy. Let's get wavy. Till things get crazy. Let's get wavy. Let's get wavy. Let's get wavy. Till things get crazy.
I left my heart in a hotel room, but when I try to explain, I got no excuse. I would've changed my ways if back then I knew that I'd be lying all alone, 'cause I was lying to you. You put on quite a show, let everybody know that you're here alone tonight. You should go back to mine, and let's pretend that we're still young. Let everybody know that you're here alone tonight. You should go back to mine, and let's pretend that we're still young.
disco, but your body resists. Your feet start moving to the sound of Prince. Don't say no, no, don't lose this. You gotta give it up, baby. Give it up, baby. Give it up. Won't you give it up? Rise up, yeah. Rise up. Nothing can hold us down. Rise up, yeah. Rise up. Nothing can hold us down. It's time to take a stance. Rise up, take back, take charge. No more confusion from displacement blinkers on. Yeah, Generation X, yeah, Generation Y. Let's stick together, make a change. We can take back the sky. Demand change from the powers, cause it's necessary. Smoke and mirrors can't divide us, had enough already. Rabbit holes, rabbit flows, this ain't no Canterbury. Tales of the youth and how we won't let them just take us down. Nothing can hold us. Nothing can stop us. Nothing can stop us. Rise up, yeah. Rise up. Nothing can hold us down. Rise up, yeah. Rise up. Nothing can hold us down. Big dreams, big things, now we can't ever stop. Taking over, take charge. Rise up. Big dreams, big things, now we can't ever stop. Taking over, take charge. Rise up. 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 Nothing can hold us. Nothing can stop us. Nothing can stop us. Rise up, yeah. Rise up. Nothing can hold us down. Rise up, yeah. Rise up. Nothing can hold us down. Want a little bit of my love, yeah, a little bit of this love that's special. Oh yeah. Want a little bit of my heart, boy, then you better know I'm special. Oh yeah. What's all this talking, chit chat? Your boy, you just talk, yeah. You may warning, TikTok, your boy is a warning. 'Cause you know I'm special, so don't waste my time. Told you, boy, I'm special. Jump up if you want my love, boy. Jump up if you want my heart. Jump and show. You show me what love's about. Jump up if you want my love. 'Cause I'm so special. Yeah, I'm so special. Yeah, I'm so special. Yeah, I'm so special. You know we got all the time, yeah, all the time in the world, boy. Hold hands, yeah, a little romance, 'cause I'm old school, yes, I am a boy. Let's dance till the sun comes up, then dance till the sun goes down. Fall asleep, then we're waking up. Go again until the morning. What's all this talking, chit chat? Your boy, you just talk, yeah, you may warning, TikTok, your boy is a warning. Jump up if you want my love, boy. Jump up if you want my heart. Jump and show. You show me what love's about. Jump up
girl, you look so good. I've been thinking about you lately. I'm thinking that we should. I won't say nothing, baby. Nah, where you been, girl? I say you looking hotter. You know I could always do you better. Switching positions whenever fed up. Let me show you. You look so good, let me see you work it. Proposition on the side, you deserve it. No competition, girl, you 5-star service. Think we could meet up after you finish working. You got that 5-star service. You got that 5-star service. You can be the samurai, you can be my master. Put me in your senses like I'm your eighth chakra. I can feel your vibes throwing around me like a rafter. Coming so strong, you love it when I go faster. I'm loving your interior, no I wouldn't change it. Body is superior, other ones are basic. Thought you was inferior, you're wrong, you're amazing. Hey, nah, where you been, girl? I say you looking hotter. You know I could always do you better. Switching positions whenever fed up. Let me show you. You look so good, let me see you work it. Proposition on the side, you deserve it. No competition, girl, you 5-star service. Think we can meet up after you finish working. You got that 5-star service. You got that 5-star service. You look so good, let me see you work it. Proposition on the side, you deserve it. No competition, girl, you 5-star service. Think we can meet up after you finish working. You got that 5-star service. You got that 5-star service.
Navigate my mind, I make noises. I don't ask, yeah, I make announcements. When I talk, people listen, but I'm grounded. They got their way, I got my way. Not like them, don't speed on the highway. I go slow, yeah, talk to toe breath. And if you didn't know, then now you know, yeah. Take off like a shooting star higher. Watch close, cause I'm building my empire. Big dreams, help the youth we inspire. Taking over, so roll up. Bigger than me, you're not bigger than me. Big up on the streets, but I'm bigger on the scene. Yeah, bigger than me, you're not bigger than me. Big up on the streets, but I'm bigger on the scene. Yeah, bigger than me, you're not bigger than me. Big up on the streets, but I'm bigger on the scene. Yeah, bigger than me, you're not bigger than me. Big up on the streets, but I'm bigger on the scene. Yeah, small change, I got real money, but don't talk money. Talk is a scam, buddy. We on set, boy, we in charge here. Big things rock like a chandelier. Yeah, top girls, yeah, we do the money dance, but not for you, not the boys, not a chance. Top girls rise up, get a stance. Ding ding, yeah, we're bringing the alarm. Take off like a shooting star higher. Watch close, cause I'm building my empire. Big dreams, help the youth we inspire. Taking over, so roll up. Take off like a shooting star higher. Watch close, cause I'm building my empire. Big dreams, help the youth we inspire. Taking over, so roll up. Bigger than me, you're not bigger than me. Big up on the streets, but I'm bigger on the scene. Yeah, bigger than me, you're not bigger than me. Big up on the streets, but I'm bigger on the scene. Bigger than me, you're not bigger than me. Big up on the streets, but I'm bigger on the scene. Yeah, bigger than me, you're not bigger than me. Big up on the streets, but I'm bigger on the scene. Yeah.
黄沙卷云天，故地硝烟。刀碑石刻，写残篇。将相王侯终不见，大业凡间。战火又熊燃，荣耀如山。一关放过二关拦，万马齐喑谁破法？吾辈当先。
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the LPL playoffs. I am Asterix. I am joined by Lyric, a duo you have not seen for many, many weeks. It is good to be back on what we'll call the stage. It is good to be back on the casting desk. And sir, it is good to see you in the flesh running back into this one.
I know, it's been a long time for both of us, a lot of issues there, but, you know, playoffs so far has been super hype, and today's match especially I think is going to be a banger.
Dude, today is going to be sick. We know that this has the potential to go to 5 games. More about that in a second. If you have missed out on any of the playoffs, here's how it's run so far. We know that there's going to be a lot of LCK fans coming in between, and of course, when that one's over, coming to the better series, because WE Suning should be an absolute banger. We'll bring that up for you, ladies and gentlemen, because so far in the playoffs, we've had a 3-2 already with RA and IG, and I think the biggest thing to take note of is so far is the most dominant win is what we saw yesterday from Suning and LNG.
Yeah, Suning and LNG, of course, 2 days ago. Yesterday, though, FPX RA, I think, was kind of expected, but at the same time, it was great to see Tien come back into form, right? Coming in, picking up a bunch of MVP performances. Again, reintegrating him into the lineup can be a bit dicey. And then, you know, we're going to see them play up against JDG tomorrow, but what I'm interested to see is who is going to go up against Top Esports, because that is going to be a mountain for either WE or Suning.
That's right, and both WE Suning similar seeds, 6th versus 7th seed here with Suning rising up against LNG. It's funny because yesterday for me was that Suning LNG. This morning, very early on, was the end of FPX and Rare Atom, but tonight and hopefully late into it, we go into Suning and WE. That's our next matchup in round number 2. Suning we've already seen, and we can talk about them a little bit later, but for WE, this might be the first eyes on for a lot of our international fans. WE are a team who I think people will resonate with because they're very familiar, Lyric. In rehearsal, you and I were summarizing this quite nicely, especially on your part, how WE look quite similar and have kind of absorbed their old self, continued to grow, and are now very much primed and polished as the WE a lot of people will know, especially with Bei Sheng in the jungle, who's just on a mission.
That's the thing, right? The biggest thing about WE from 2020 to 2021 is that they still play around Bei Sheng. Highest kill participation and highest first turret out of junglers in playoffs. That means anywhere Bei Sheng goes, the action is happening, and he's very good at converting that into objectives, which is how WE win a lot of their games.
I mean, Bei Sheng, I saw, he came into the league same time I did. In 2019, he was introduced into this WE lineup. And from the get-go, this guy, you know, potential rookie of the split, he was one of the best junglers in the league. He's turned this team so great, and I think another part you and I were also talking about, the second part you can all see there, the options that WE have for these drafts and how they can kind of, I guess, shape around some of the strength that we see in the bottom lane, also some of the solo lanes too.
Well, you remember last year, WE was all about picking those global mid laners, the Pantheon, the Aurelion Sol, the Galio, was all about kind of moving as a 5-man unit, Morgan TPing down, but with Breathe and Shanks coming into the roster, it's a lot more flexible in terms of champions. We're seeing the Irelia, the Fiora on the top lane, the Cassio, the Ryze coming out mid, so they have more options to play around side lanes, and I think Bei Sheng has a lot more options of where to gank. The one constant, though, is Jomung is still the hyper carry, does most of the team's damage. They are setting him up to be that big late game carry that brings the team across the finish line.
A part of why I was saying 2017 fans and onwards would get a similar feeling with this team, right? Set up for Jomung. It's like we got Mystic and Zero, or Mystic and Missing in that bottom lane again, as you can kind of see Jomung has been that shape-up 80 carry. Bottom lane's been a bit volatile, Lyric, but I think in those team fights we see Jomung really succeed.
Exactly. You know, it doesn't matter too much about that 2v2 laning phase. I do think they've had highlight moments and they've had some misses there. As long as they're setting Jomung up in those later team fights, that's what matters. And that's why another player I want to hit on is Shanks, because, we highlighted Shanks as being one of the key players. And when you are a team that plays so heavily around jungle early on and then tries to convert that into bot lane, it feels like Shanks has a very pivotal role on if WE will succeed or not. If he's losing lane, not able to cover the invades Beishang's going for, WE typically will just fall behind, Beishang will get caught out, and that is a path that a lot of teams have taken to beating WE.
I really like that point. It has been the core weakness that teams have talked about, where Shanks is that newer mid laner. We remember in the past, people like Teacher Ma came through. That was a big gaping hole. That was a very different problem with strength over draft. But Shanks is that brick, and if you're able to smash through the bricks, then you create those problems for WE. Something you and I will talk about as we go further into this game. But on the other side, going up against Suning today, remember, we saw Suning dominate LNG, man. It's like we're looking at Scar versus Mufasa, and Scar's gonna die. You're just wondering when, and that's what the series for Suning and LNG was for me.
Yep, definitely Suning embracing the circle of life. And it was great to see because it felt like Suning not only had really good read on LNG, we saw SOFM consistently counter-ganking in the bottom lane.
Yep.
They had a lot of interesting picks coming out. We got the Xin Zhao coming out, the Zillion, the Kassadin, just all around. And it felt like Suning as a whole were really outperforming their counterparts. But SOFM was definitely the standout in that series.
And even though it didn't feel like, SOFM was the whole reason, he was a big part of it, right? Like, when we were going into that, I remember you and Dagdo having a long conversation about how Suning solo lanes are, especially towards that top side, and how SOFM will pivot around, he'll shadow around, he'll put priority up there. But SOFM was so flexible, and he just took away everything from Tarzan from games 1 to 3.
Yep, he, again, I think clear MVP of that series, but it also is a lot easier when your soul laners are stepping up. Of course, Bin was just completely dominating the Kuya in that top side. And I feel like the most surprising factor for me was Angel, because, summer 2020, I feel like Angel had an all right split, went to Worlds, performed well. This split, it hasn't been as good, and I think a lot of people are looking back towards 2019 summer and 2020 spring when Angel was totally popping off on the Suning team, and it's like that is the Angel we saw up against LNG.
Flashes again like that, right? The Kassadin that we talked about, this undefeated pick that he destroyed on, that he picked up the quadra kill you can see on your screen. It's flexible picks like this as well. Like, I didn't expect to see the Zillion out of this Archangel now built into the mid lane of Suning, but he gives another avenue for this team, and when you have strong solo lanes, of course SOFM's going to feel great.
And he just outlaned Icon the whole time. The fact that he was almost getting solo kills a Zillion against Lulu. He was winning early trades, forcing the back out from Icon and Kassadin against Silas. It was just really surprising and really nice to see Angel step up. And I feel like especially when we go back to some of those games, that game 1 was a big reminder to me where he actually picked up the MVP because he had so many great ultimates. He stole a lot of great engages, re-engages that led Suning to get that win in what was the most competitive game of the series.
It was, and from there it went downhill and Angel kept control going over. We'll have a little bit of a look at it because I know you mentioned the depth charge lyric, like the clutch play from Suning from the individual laners was just so exceptional. And I'm really impressed because you brought up 2019 summer, you brought up 2020 spring. People saw Angel at Worlds and they saw him in a bubble where, yes, he was performing well, but in the regular season of the LPL and within the league, he's never been that top 3 mid laner. Even the top 5 has been competitive. And it's nice to see that Angel is putting his statement out as he comes into playoffs.
I feel like he's also feeling really good in this meta where we see Silas coming back with the buffs. I feel like Kassadin does have a lot of decent laning matchups into champions that are being played. Some people globally are picking things like LeBlanc. Akali now, a bit weaker in the early game, but got buffs towards the later stages of the game. And I feel like Angel performs best when he is on a lot of these assassins or side laners where he thrives. So I think that's going to be a big point to look out for today with, how Angel does up against Shanks, control mage versus more side lane, assassin bruiser oriented player.
It's going to be exciting to watch Angel in play, how he goes up against Shanks today, and if that laning phase is going to be his baby once again. A lot of exciting matchups we can talk about, but of course, before we get into that and further into the discussion, let's remind our fans where our, predictions on the board. Let's just throw them out there because it's a close one. Everyone bar one there with Magical have gone to the 3-2, and you're just seeing how we think this is going to play out.
And that's crazy too, right? Because it's just so split, WE and Suning.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, the 5-game series, I feel like when you look at these two teams on paper, they are some of the like closest matchup, despite the fact that they're so stylistically different. Because I think Suning are a lot more of a team who, before their run against LNG, were slower in the early game. It's a lot more about once first turrets go down, using the side lane pressure from Angel and Bin, finding picks. And then WE is more of a stock and standard, play through their winning matchups, invade in the jungle, and then play around dragons, play for the 5v5 team fights. But still, again, with Suning's form up against LNG, I'm just so excited to see how this one will pan out.
Yeah, because going into it, right, there's a lot of different lanes we can look at. You and I were discussing, particularly in rehearsal, how it does feel like WE's bottom lane is going to be a major strength here for the team, while for Suning, with the play from Angel we talked about, with Bin still popping off, that the soul lane is going to be quite hard to deal with. So there's a lot of cool avenues to look at.
That's the thing is, I feel like the way to beat WE for a lot of the split was, do you have a better bottom lane than Jomung and Missing? Because I still don't think Missing's performing at the same level he was last year, and I feel like Jomung is a big benefactor of how well Missing plays. So I don't think Suning are a team who can really exploit Missing and Jomung in the bottom lane. Maybe we'll even see 2v2 kills coming out for WE side if SOFM doesn't play around as heavily as against LNG. But like you said, I feel like Bin has been a better laner than Breathe all split long. He's a bit more aggressive. And then the Angel we saw up against LNG, if he appears once again today, I feel like Shanks is just going to get constantly shoved in the mid lane, and it's going to be a lot about how junglers interact.
It really is, because junglers have changed, right? We've had a lot of development over the split, and SOFM towards the start of the split, it was a lot about playing towards Bin, as we said, and we discussed in previous matchups. But now, and especially in that LNG series, SOFM was all over the bottom lane, pathing change, shadowing and counter jungling. A lot of what Tarzan had to say down there.
That's the thing, right? Is it felt like SOFM was always in the perfect place at the right time. He was like playing so cerebrally around Tarzan's path, setting Tarzan behind, invading him, ganking both sides of the map. He was setting up for Angel to make those TP plays and those hovers. So I think it's going to be a lot harder for Beishang to show the level we've been seeing from him all split long.
Yeah.
But at the same time, right, I mean, Beishang's among the best in the LPL. A lot of people ranking him as the best jungler. I think it is a bit of a tight discussion, so that one's really fun to see. But yeah, it feels like this series, is going to be decided by which jungler can find more opportunities on the map throughout the game.
Funny, you talk about people rating Beishang as one of the best. I think a lot of people are rating SOFM as one of the best as well towards the end of the split, even putting him back up in the tier list. SOFM, very unique jungler. Beishang, very much driving the force of WE as you see them coming out onto stage. And remember, for this team of WE, they're a roster, or rather an organization, that have always been locked into that first, second round spot of playoffs. For the last 3 years, they haven't gone past that. It's been since 2017 that WE has made a run in playoffs. They have been to the world stage, / actually made an indent in the spring split. So it's all going to come down to it today as they enter the stage. Quick reminder for you as well as we get everyone out onto stage. Breathe, Beishang, Shanks, Jomung, and Missing on the roster of WE.
And then, we do have Suning coming out now. Once again, they have the expected roster as well. Bin, SOFM, Angel, Huanfeng, and On. And I feel like another interesting dynamic of this matchup is the fact that we have 3 players playing their first playoffs. On the side of Suning, and then both Breathe and Shanks on the side of WE. So now On has gotten a series under his belt. I feel like should feel at least a bit more relaxed. But I'm really curious to see how Breathe and Shanks will do with the pressure of their first LPL playoffs.
That's right, because Breathe was on the side of OMG. I love you bring this up, considering the OMGX top laner was very far from it. So Breathe gets his chance in the sun and against Bin nevertheless, as you're excited getting into this one, of course. And I love this. Look at the matchup. We're looking at 80 carries here. Huanfeng on the menu with SOFM.
I mean, they're both very similar, right, in the sense that a lot of how their team is set up revolves around how their jungler does, or setting up for their jungler early on, but it's still about the hyper carries, the late game 80 carries to get them those wins.
Yeah.
We even look at their win rates on certain champions, both of them excelling on champions like Kai'Sa and Jinx, both of them undefeated on the Jinx actually. So
yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of contested picks in the bottom lane. And if those are banned out, we're going to go down seeing more things like the Varus, seeing things like the Aphelios, and who which one of these AD carries outside of their comfort zone can step up and be that big threat later on.
But it is exciting when you start talking about things like the Jinx, right? The hyper carry that can change the game. You mentioned, being a big part there on the Chinese broadcast. I just want to drop some quick stats for everyone out there, kind of steal the segment from LEC. It's 4 games now on the Jinx, plus 40 KDA at least here for Huan Feng. Haven't done the exact math, but on the other side, Zhou 6-0 on the Jinx, 10 KDA. So it's going to be a big pick for these 2 AD carries running on in as we finally start round 2 of playoffs. On the other side of the bracket with WE versus Suning, 11.6, remember, Viego is still disabled. As we run into this one, 180 carry already taken off from Suning in the Aphelios.
And I find this really interesting because we see the Tahm Kench ban coming out on did play 2 games of that in their last series. I think it looked like one of his best champions. Again, when you're a newer support, you're still struggling to fit into a roster. Just feels like a very bread and butter champion. And then the Nocturne, which is just becoming so meta throughout these playoffs. He really puts a lot of threat onto the AD carries. We're seeing AD carries like Jinx that are very diveable, and if you can get on that backline, struggle very heavily.
It was first pick yesterday by SOFM too, so I like the target ban, especially from WE as they get the Hecarim under their belt. That's also been pretty pivotal. No surprise there for WE.
And now I want to see where Suning go with it. I think the expected pickup would be something like your AD carry. They are hovering the Jinx now. And then maybe the Udyr for SOFM, because I feel like right now we have 4 premier junglers, Hecarim, Udyr, Lilia, and Nidalee. Neither of these junglers really play Lilia. We know SOFM is straight a bit away from the Nidalee. They banned it all 3 games in their last series. And Udyr's his most played champion. So actually, the interesting thing, though, with them not going towards it is SOFM. So maybe going to bring out some more of those cheeky pocket picks with the fact that they didn't pick it up first rotation.
Maybe we get something like the Xin Zhao. Let's find out, because you already got a Renekton and Orianna. Solo laners locked in very early here for WE. They had no cares about matching the bottom lane.
Still, though, this is going to give Bin a counter pick, and we know when Bin can get a matchup he likes, whether he wants to pick up the Gnar now or even save a champion later on, because you could go towards something like the Jace if you wanted, or the GP. Doesn't look like it'll be that. It felt like Bin had a lot of options to deal with it, and this is already setting up for that dynamic that we talked about of, hey, Suning should be able to at least slightly outclass WE in these solo lanes.
That's right, we'll just have to watch what Angel decides to pick into the Orianna in the mid lane. But for the time being, going into the second ban phase, still no bottom lane there for Zhou and missing. And Kai'Sa, not a surprising takeaway here from Suning.
And I feel like if you're Suning on 4, you should go towards your jungler. They're already showing jungle. There really isn't any reason not to do so. The Udyr is still a champion that's left open. Even if you want to go somewhere deeper down the line and even pick up the likes of an Olaf or something along those lines, I think it's completely fine. And then just save your mid lane pick for last. I guess it doesn't really matter too much in terms of matchup because both of WE's mid and jungle are being shown. But I feel like there's a bit more flexibility in that mid lane pick once you have more of a holistic idea of what WE's comp does. Because right now, a lot of junglers just build turbo chem tank and run at you.
That's true. And there's a lot of diveability there already with the 2 picks. So I like that you point that out. On the other side, Suning, just note the Alistar has been partnered away as a ban. While WE started banning away some of the mid laners, Twisted Fate we haven't actually seen as much recently in the LPL. A lot of players been shying away from it. And will be banned away once again. So let's find out what that final pickup is, Lyric, and see if the jungle Udyr is left open as you expected to be picked next.
And, whatever WE bans now, I wouldn't be too surprised. I was going to say if Suning actually just pick up the Azir because it is one of the kind of safest picks left up.
Not anymore.
Again, I would expect the Udyr to come out by any standard team. The fact that it is SOFM and he's played the Kayn, he's played the Xin Zhao. I'm checking in solo queue. He's actually playing Frostfire Gauntlet Rengar. So this is a man of many mysteries.
Yes, it is. And SOFM continues to astound us and amaze us at the same time. Let's hold for a second before we get cute, guys. Because, yeah, I mean, old men are cute as well. There's the Zilean locked in. We saw this from Angel in Game 2 against LNG.
And it just sets up for this, protect the hyper carry kind of composition. I also feel like it does open up some of those more obscure junglers to being a bit better, right? Whether it is bringing the Xin Zhao in, giving them that speed up to get in there, also then having the ultimate, even the likes of the Kayn. So enabling SOFM while still setting up Huan Feng to be that massive carry late game. Zhou on the other end coming out with the Tristana. We've seen it fall off a bit in terms of priority in the LPL, which I would say is a bit strange. It's still being first picked over in the LEC if you're following their playoffs. And for WE, I wouldn't be too surprised to see them just once again go towards a more heavy engaged support. We already saw them hover the Leona and just kind of have a bit of a handshake matchup in the bot lane. I feel like that suits Missing's playstyle much more.
We'll find out. 3 seconds to lock it in. They're looking at the Seraphine, something to buff up the Tristana, but there you go. Added CC, and there's a lot of crowd control to be talked about here for WE. Lyric, I'll ask you about that in a second. I just want to round out Suning's composition because we do have a jungler last pick for SOFM. He's a wacky man, but he might go a little bit standard here to round out game number 1. Let's find out. You mentioned something going down the tier list like the Olaf. And that just could be SOFM's bread and butter for game number 1 as he locks it in finally. So walk me through a little bit of Suning's composition first, because I do see a lot of key ultimates that will change the face of these fights.
Yeah, for the side of Suning, I think you're going to play a bit more around top side. Both of these drafts with the Renekton versus Gnar matchup is a matchup that either side can make a bit volatile, and then it's about which jungler can go and affect that matchup first where you can really find your advantage. We know if it is left to an isolated lane, Bin should be the one winning out, but I don't see too much opportunity in mid or bot early on. Sure, you have a very potent 2v2 with Zillion and Olaf, but right, Zillion needs a bit more time. You want to get that level 6 mark, so Suning, we're looking towards top lane early, then we know they scale incredibly well. It's all about protecting Huanfeng, and I actually don't feel like WE's comp is all that different. Shielding mid laner in Orianna, aggressive top side, and kind of 2 meatball supports that are going to fight each other with a hyper carry down there as well.
Yeah, so we've just kind of got the matching that we thought, right, with 2 teams who at the moment feel similar in some regard, but stylistically go very different directions. We do get what we want, right? Junglers are going to be volatile on Olaf, on Hecarim. We're going to see how they gank and how they affect these lanes. Remember what we talked about, ladies and gentlemen? We said that for WE, the bottom lane has the ability to excel, while solo lanes for Suning, and especially as of recently, have been so big. Angel and Bin, man. You're going to get recycling up in that top lane if you're not careful. And I feel like we're going to get an exciting matchup going into this. WE versus Suning, 6th versus 7th. We've all pretty much predicted a 3-2 either way. And WE and Suning, let's hope they deliver as we continue going into round 2 of LPL playoffs for 2021. As we enter Summoner's Rift, of course we can't hear the gyos. I'm assuming they've already started here, Lyric, for WE and Suning, both in Shanghai as well, I do believe. And you talked about similar drafts. Hopefully the crowd can get riled about some fights later on. There they are. And I'll assume we can hear them as some early trading happens in that top side. Now, let's run it back a little bit, sir. It is you and I onto the mic for the first time together in about 3.5 weeks, maybe 4. It does feel like 10,000 years, like I'm starting out in the Power Rangers, but man, it is good to have you here to run through what you said earlier could be one of the most competitive matchups in our playoffs.
I think it definitely will be. Again, I feel like neither team completely outclasses the other in terms of any lane, in terms of like mid-game, team fighting. It feels like the one distinguisher is the fact that Suning are a team that typically opts more into playing around side lanes. But I really want to see how the junglers interact with the map early on. I kind of expected both of them to just clear towards their top side and look to influence that matchup. We do expect them to just both full clear the Hecarim and the Olaf, so I don't think we're going to see too much action in the first 4 minutes around either mid or top. It's going to be coming down to if either of these bot lanes step up. We do see them fighting over that middle brush control right now, and if we can see any kind of cheeky 2v2 kills coming out.
We'll see. Good training in the bottom lane, but Huanfeng and On will hit 2 first in this lane. And you can see already Jolmong and Missing pay the respect. There's Attract and Repel, and it's back to the turret for them. You picked up jungle pathing and how it's going to be watched, but maybe doesn't make too much of an impact early. Just note as well, there's good warding from both these teams. Spotted out on the Raptor camp is SOFM by a ward from Shanks, I believe. And Angel, once again with his deep vision, will spot out Beisheng on the Raptors. So both teams very aware of where the junglers are going towards, which is opposite sides of the map for now.
I also like the later wards we saw come out from both Breathe and Shanks, because Shanks, of course, is going to push in this matchup, Zilly not having much early wave clear, so he did get that ward that we see on our screen right now, just being cognizant of the fact that SOFM after Raptors can just try to, even if they don't get a kill, pressure gank mid, set Shanks behind, maybe burn a flash, and Breathe on the same side, getting that Tri-Brush ward. Now, junglers are just going to trade Scuttle Crabs. We actually see the early clears going in opposite directions to where Breathe does have a bit of advantage. Bin has been paying some respect because he knows that SOFM did path down towards the bottom side. And then Huanfeng and On getting that bot lane push and going to get some deep vision for SOFM as well.
Yeah, towards the Raptor camp, or rather Krugs, excuse me. It's Huanfeng who drops the ward after pushing out the wave. And there's actually a 10 CS lead as the wave resets as well. And even the top side with the push coming through, there isn't that much of a gap. So already a really good start for Huanfeng and On, which we talked about the volatility in their lane.
And that's the thing, right? It's why we've seen Jinx just be picked up against Tristan and a lot of these longer range AD carries is you get the push with your rockets. It's very easy to go for these trades unless Missing finds like an egregious hook onto Huanfeng that he honestly shouldn't be able to find.
True.
I also really like the ward they place because they know Beishang path from bot to top, so they're going to be able to spot him out right now had they wanted to play more aggressive and contest that wave, and then they'd still be able to back off if they saw Beishang hovering over to look for a game.
I just love this early game is all about vision, right? There's so much priority, more so than I'd say on any other team we've kind of seen. Or at least the camera's paying more attention to it now. Beishang was spotted out on that ward. He clears it away. SOFM the same up in that top side. Teleport's going to be burnt mid, and already the lanes continue to play out as expected. And Jomung even pushing in now eventually too. So he's going to catch up on a lot of that CS. It's top for bottom side Scuttle as a trade-off. And ladies and gentlemen, I just want to alert you that this is not going to be as boring as the LCK's Gen G and T1. We do expect some action to come out here. And I wanted to talk to you about it, but just a quick second. Angel's dropping another ward. He's backing away after spotting out Beishang yet again.
And the thing that's at least a bit more interesting, right, is it's become very standard. Junglers buying boots off their first clear.
Yeah.
It gives you a lot more mobility on the map. It makes it so you can traverse from camp to camp quicker. Even if something like, combat stats or Bomby Cinder would let you do that, do the camp faster or do the camp healthier. It feels like this lets you impact the map more, as that's what we're seeing Beishang look to do right now.
Now, he's spotted an ward, but Suning may have thought that Beishang's just going in to get vision, as he's in the perfect position. The flash used, but he's sent back. Hops anyway, stunned up. More damage needed, but they secure it. And WE on the board for first blood.
And just nice setup coming out from WE. We see Breathe keeping the wave in a neutral place, so he can look for that all-in. Hecarim, with all the changes to mobility creep throughout this split. Oh my god, Hysterics. It's going down again.
No, the teleport into the gate. Beishang was still here. Bin has the Zillion ult from base though, but they still time it out. He thought he was being cheeky. He thought he was being clever, but he just ints to the turret.
That's the thing, right? Is
at least
we thought it was an egregious mistake. It did turn out that he at least had some sort of thought behind it, was trying to be a little bit cheeky. Still didn't pan out. Both Beishang and Breathe are level 6. They're able to back off a second, still guarantee that kill. And when we were setting up before the game, hey, Bin's going to be the one finding an advantage topside. I even think before last series, Suning were a team that much more heavily played around Bin than they did the bottom lane.
Yeah.
And to see it flip on its head as we do see this play come through, I think is going to be a big pain point for Suning.
It's like Angel saw that and thought, man, I don't know why you're doing that, but this'll help. But nicely done from Beishang and Breathe to dive. Dominus helps with that, right, Lyric? And now suddenly Breathe has 2 assists, but more importantly, Beishang 2 kills. He has himself a bounty. He might be down in CS, but Beishang has done so much for that top lane to start this game off for WE.
I mean, the thing we think about, right, is we look at items. A Bomby Cinder already coming out for Beishang and a pickaxe on the side of Breathe. So any topside 2v2s, any early skirmishes that either of them are getting involved in, whether it is going to be the Herald that's coming up in about 45 seconds, as Missing finds the hook.
Yeah, there's disengage rather from On, and nice little mount up, rather crash down. Jobung and Missing will use this to then push the wave.
But yeah, going back to my point before, right, where anywhere a skirmish breaks out for the side of WE, they should be in a much better position right now. We even highlighted like scaling earlier, and despite the fact that, you know, it's an Orianna versus Zillion, Orianna does feel like she provides a bit more in these early game fights, but WE don't care about Orianna or Zillion. They're just gonna keep doubling down on their advantage, as they should.
And look at where the wave is as well. It's pushing up against Breathe. So right now he has such an advantage. He's got a level advantage at that as well. And the CS, and Beishang is just waiting for the Herald to spawn. He knows it's his, even walking over the scuttle.
And that's the thing is, WE know that they win the skirmish. They know that they have more combat stats and that there shouldn't be a way that Suning can contest unless they do have a man advantage. It looks like Angel could potentially be there a bit sooner. He's pathing directly through the jungle to get there while Shanks is going through lane. But SOFM has Smite, this just could come down to a 50-50.
They're at the same level, the exact same one. Onto the eye, he just takes it, runs in with Ragnarok, doesn't care. Beishang has his ult available, but the flash over the wall, and SOFM is the agent who never dies. He'll just walk out of there, and Beishang can't do a thing.
I'm wondering why Beishang backed off. If you look at top lane cooldowns, Bin actually used his ultimate, so maybe he ulted Breathe, and Breathe wasn't able to hover down. So Beishang just felt like he had to respect SOFM coming in, and the fact that Angel still wasn't showing on the map, right? Because he didn't path the mid lane, he pathed directly through their red side jungle.
And remember, it's not like Beishang can take that loss and then go, all right, I'll get Dragon anyway. That was taken by Suning earlier in the game, so that is a win as Super Mega Death Rocket to try and get the splash and secure blue. At least Beishang will give Shanks over the buff and walk away with a scuttle as well. But for SOFM, he's kind of recounted what happened in the top lane. And Lyric, where do you put this? What do you do with this as SOFM's invading still?
I mean, we can see WE are going to go for the contest. Missing's making his way over as well. We can see that Beishang is pretty much already here.
Not enough damage yet, and Ragnarok was down, but SOFM doesn't care. He walks away. Level 8 versus level 7, and I mean, those two deaths on Bin, those were a great start for WE, but SOFM's actually accruing a pretty big lead in this jungle.
You know, I honestly think in that position, WE should have just accepted the fact that, you know, they invaded the bottom side blue, they're giving that over to SOFM, and the big victory would be the fact that they were getting vision control bottom side. Dragon was coming up in about a minute at that point, now we're down to 35 seconds, and it's like, okay, you know, we're not going to be able to play around our advantage as heavily, but we're setting up for the next advantage we can get. They have TP advantage on their Renekton, and I still hope to see WE go for that. They do have more vision in the bottom side river than Suning does. Now we just want to see them group up with Missing. Shanks is already pushing out. He's getting a word topside for some reason. I just want to see WE look to take this objective that should be free.
Well, they're moving down there for now, at least. The vision control you mentioned is continuing to push into the enemy side of the map. Missing's actually moving up himself. You talked about his ward placement, as Shanks actually going to get the shockwave down into mid. Angel has his own ult and holds on to it for the very breath of life. Shanks walks away, and especially after that, you feel like the Dragon is even more guaranteed as SOFM walks through, and SOFM might have to watch out himself, but Beishang not willing to die.
So we're going to at least see them force the backs. This will guarantee that Dragon that we talked about. Beishang's backing, my bro. What are you doing? The objective's right there.
He's stayed around for now. He was on a ward, but yeah, he is backing. And SOFM, this is going to give him time to come back on the map. He stopped and he thought, actually, there's a Dragon that kind of looks like me with 2 less legs, and Suning will actually have their jungler out here if they want to contest.
We need to remember that Breed still does have TP advantage. Also, Breed will be about to have that dominance up. Suning want to look for the contest.
Oh my god, it happened again. And you know what? Super Mega Death Rocket will do it. Breed TP'd! He TP'd after the fact! Suning just won again.
You know, it's not even surprising anymore when Super Mega Death Rocket does that, but
That's true.
Still, it felt like WE just sat on the tempo of that play far too long. They know they forced Angel to back. Sure, he does have TP, he does have Unsealed Spellbook, but they also know that, you know, SOFM was pushed away. Shanks could have been leaning towards that side earlier. They already had the TP advantage, and it just feels like a missed chance for WE to where, sure, you've gotten the advantage in terms of, like, having winning lanes and abusing that, but Suning are the team getting every single objective.
And man, Huanfeng gets the gold for the Dragon, and he's also going to get the turret plating here, but Beishang running in like all horses should. That's the wombo we wanted to see. He's brought back, and down he goes. Magnet Storm's way too late, and the Shockwave ends up giving a double over to Missing. Not the person you wanted on, but at least for WE to fight back and punish hard.
So the dynamic of the game stays the same, right? Suning are the ones making these more objective-focused map plays, not really looking for kills. They're taking it a bit slower. They're prioritizing a lot of farm onto their jungler and their carries, but WE are still the ones pulling the trigger. I really like what Beishang did. Sat behind his bottom lane. Like you said, just ran in there, as all Hekarims now are able to do with Phase Rush, Ghost, and all the other movement speed in this game. Missing follows up, and just really nice coordination coming out from Team WE.
Missing now has a bounty. You don't want to give that over to SOFM, and Jolmong stops his back in the process. Ragnarok used. There's the double rocket jump after getting the shot down. Gets hit with the Undertow, though, as a TP to follow up. Busts a shot to disengage. SOFM still has his flash, though, as Undertow connects, and the rocket from downtown. Bin gets the easy flash down, and Suning with a double trouble, and now you are, if you're WE.
WE thought they were punishing SOFM, but they go a bit too far. It lines up for that TP from Bin. WE should know that Bin has TP advantage now. Seemed like they were tracking that summoner with the play they made with the Renekton early on. Still, though, Bin is going to end up losing out, but if you look at the minimap, it actually won't be too much. Angel moved up to catch that wave, make sure that Suning aren't losing any passive gold or EXP on the map, as Bin just cleared the wave in mid.
Dude, Huanfeng's ulti so far, I'm going to say that's 2 for 2. Definitely on point from what we've seen. And, oh man, for Suning, I've got a couple of questions to ask you, Lyric. It is a 1k gold lead still for WE, but the shutdown onto the Nautilus that we never expected goes over to SOFM. And suddenly he's in a great position for this game, already having a CS lead. And as Missing goes to invade, I was going to ask a very important question. You said these compositions function similarly. Well, here, going down on the bottom side, it seems like they overextended on WE's side. I'll have to pause the question as we watch this one again.
Hysterics, I mean, we know what happens here. WE were looking for it. They thought they caught SOFM being over-aggressive. They weren't considering Bin's TP coming through. The Super Mega Death Rocket also able to follow up. But going back to your question, I feel like the longer this game goes, it does favor the side of Suning more with how these compositions interact. It's going to be very hard to get on top of Huanfeng with Bin, SOFM, and On functioning as meat shields, as well as the Zillion ult able to come through. They also do have a bit of a range advantage there with both the bombs from Zillion and then just Jinx as a whole. So Suning definitely going to have a good formation. Is Beishang still looking for the fight?
Won't stop them for now, though. Yeah, Beishang's going in quite deep. Forces out Ragnarok again from SOFM. He holds onto the flash, but this time, WE exerting the pressure to get the Rift Herald down, and this will be secured quite nicely. Now we have to question is the Super Mega Death Rocket was actually moments away yet again.
I mean, you know, I love that he has the confidence to keep going for it. When he's been successful so many times, why don't you just keep, you know, utilizing it off cooldown? That's something really cool about AD carries with globals. I've noticed when you see like a player who's the best at something, I think the obvious example is Prey with Ashe. The fact that it seemed like every time the Enchanted Crystal Arrow was off cooldown, it was being used. And it looks like Huanfeng taking Jinx in the same vein.
Yeah, we've seen so many compilations. You said it before, like Super Mega Death Rocket, the percentage missing health that it does, especially to these neutrals, is pretty insane. And as we come back to the game, just note that before we saw the Herald going down, I got a question for you that the Herald placement, are we just going to see it mid? What do you expect to see here from Beishang to kind of heighten this game and bring more tempo for WE in this early game?
I would definitely expect to see it mid. I think WE can look to go top as Breeze.
He's in a lot of trouble. Ult backwards to keep him in range. Dominus burnt. Bin misses the house for the 3rd time. Mortgage wasn't fully paid off there, so Breeze will get out alive.
Yeah, and you know, we saw that Breeze's Rage Bar was also stacked up, got the Q off, went from like 20% HP to 45% HP in an instant. But Dragon is back up, so we're going to start seeing these teams hover and posture on mid lane to get this vision control on the bottom side of the map. I like what WE's doing. They're sending Breathe top, realizing his TP's coming back up and Bin's isn't. So Suning in response realize, hey, our top lane turret's almost gone. Let's just overload the bottom side of the map, maybe get a TP out of Breathe, or even just outright get this objective. But I love what SOFM's doing, just forcing in that wave bot. The other 4 members going to defend mid.
And he's going to be walking across from the bottom side all the way through for a potential flank. WE grouping up behind the Herald, who will help get the mid lane turret. As it goes down, Missing sets up the engage onto On. Dissonance follows with a lot of damage as well. And as Herald falls down, SOFM now spotted out, and they're in the river waiting for the objective to start.
Yeah, and again, SOFM just utilizing the tempo he gained from bottom lane. He pushed that in all the way. Breathe not finding any opportunity to TP with the fact that Suning did just kind of accept the pressure that WE put on them. Had to make his way down. They did clear out vision, but it looks like Suning are comfortable giving this one up. I think for their composition, it's fine as well when we've highlighted, hey, the later this game goes, it does feel a bit better for Suning. I don't want to discount WE by any means because they do have a Tristana, they do have an Orianna, and they do have a nice, I'd say, ball delivery / wombo combo coming out with the Hecarim in there as well. So, going to be options on both sides, but Suning electing to scale for now.
But I guess, you know, the part that I really like when you talk about Suning is, you know, when you see a Zilean in the game with a hyper carry, remember that Zilean kind of acts like steroids, right? You've got a speed up, but you've also got a revive. And when you build GA as an AD carry, if you get towards those 5th, 6th items and you decide to opt in for it, then you have 2 lifelines as well. So I think it's something important to note. And
another aspect that I feel like people maybe forget or overlook is the fact that you provide so much zone control as well, right? You throw down your bombs. Now as well with Everfrost being so strong in the meta, it's not like you can just run at the enemy AD carry with all the zoning as well as the ultimate coming out from the Zilean. So there's definitely a lot of things at play to what make Zilean strong in a composition like this. And I mean, heck, he's gotten to scale up for free. 174 CS is behind Shanks as
Bin is going in. Boomerang.
As my voice cracked a little bit.
Yeah, it's all right. You're not too cracked. That's okay. But, you know, coming back to scaling, just while we have a bit of a lull state going across the rift, waiting for this next dragon, I think the bigger thing for Suning this game so far has been that steal. The steal on the second dragon means WE can't force towards a potential early Elder, towards an early Cloud Soul, with a comp that does like to go fast as well. So it feels like Suning got one for free to elongate this game, an extra 5 minutes than expected.
I mean, that's the thing, right, is the first Herald, SOFM just walks up and takes it. That dragon as well, he was able to do the same. So those were definitely some nice pickups. I think Cloud Soul definitely, you know, is amazing on both compositions. That's not surprising. In this meta, it feels like Cloud Soul is great on almost everything. Going to get a lot of value out of that. And now what we're going to see is just both teams opt into picking up their side waves. This is where Bin can start trying to thrive and shine. The thing he'll always have to be careful of is Beishang shadowing Breathe on that side of the map and, you know, a potential pick coming off. Because, again, with the Turbo Chem Tank, with the Ghost, Beishang can traverse the map in a second.
And he'll have a Dead Man's Plate soon as well on Beishang. Also note, while we are talking about junglers, there is a 2-level difference that could be coming up in conversation as we get more around these neutral objectives. SOFM has been farming up a Storm as we expect, and on this Olaf, while Beishang was making impact top, while Bint was kind of... Sorry, Bin, excuse me. Slip of the tongue, I swear. Was dying to the TP turret. SOFM was still farming, and he's up 40 CS in that jungle. Has gone back towards the Gore Drinker Olaf when a lot of others are going towards Stride Breaker. So I just love that SOFM does what he wants when he wants.
For this composition, with the fact that, right, we've talked about the zone control, the kiting back, I think it will be very... If teamfights break out, they will be very brawly. So I think the fact that he, you know, bring the Gore Drinker, completely understandable. I think items across the board are very typical and expected. So we see Jolmung forced out, so... Both teams right now starting to make that play where they're fighting for vision control over the bottom half of the river. Is 140 until Drake.
Hang on. Camera pans away at the wrong time. Beishang stops SOFM's back, but his whole team was waiting for it. That was a ruse, and it was so well played by Suning.
Yeah, great punishment. Yeah, we didn't even get to see how that one happened, like you said. Just a bit of unlucky timing coming out from the observers. Still, there isn't going to be anything that Suning are able to do with this pick. Death timers aren't long enough for them to be able to transition onto a Baron. Also, we've highlighted a lot of AoE and a lot of like tools that can threaten Suning if they do just go into that pit. But we're going to see here Beishang just walking up, actually E'd in. I mean, they don't have vision over the wall, so I guess he theoretically doesn't know that they're all there. Gets punished. Not much he could do, but don't know if that was the play.
That was a bro squad for Suning. SOFM thinks he's got caught out. Yeah, there's a flash of the Poro post the play. Was able to give another kill over. Suning dead even in gold pretty much. Lyric's already told you about the scaling while it favors Suning. So for WE, getting into a bit of a predicament here. I do like that you also mentioned the wombo potential and how for WE, even if there is a scaling advantage for Suning, WE always have that threat of that explosion in the fights. The ball delivery system you mentioned as well. So we could be getting towards the 35 minute mark in this game where both teams feel comfortable enough to fight, leaving it up to that individual impact that we talked about opening our segments where both teams really like to, I guess, put faith in different lanes.
Well, that's the thing, right? Because I don't think that this is like an outright scaling advantage in terms of the stats that are going to be on the Rift. We've already highlighted Tristana, Orianna, Hecarim, Zilean, Jinx on the other side. It's a lot more of like the play patterns of these compositions and how they'll do in front of neutrals, how they'll do at, fighting over Prio in the mid wave. As Bin's looking for this. Beishang's here.
No, not damaged though. Not confident to go forward, and Bin just gets to stay in the wave while pings are going towards the mid lane, missing anchoring for a hook. As Dragon now spawns. WE still trying to move into the river, and they have priority for now. Let's see if Suning want to contest and push in.
One thing I want to highlight is how well Suning are playing with lack of vision. Oh, missing
going in. That forces
out.
out the Ragnarok. That means SOFM can't just blindly walk in and go for the steal, while Bin and On are on the other side of this Dragon. They peel off, and Suning decide to give it up as Missing actually flashes for the hook, hits a minion instead, and Angel is an absolute clock wizard as Beishang goes in the background. He gets knocked up and can't use his ultimate. That's a great pick for WE as SOFM flashes over the wall. His ulti was already burned, and for WE they continue forward. There's another flash as Missing, contrary to his name, does not miss.
And both teams are honestly just playing around vision so well. We saw Suning doing it to start off, kind of utilizing that control ward they have over the wall to get some poke damage out. And then for WE, we see Missing going into that brush. I feel like SOFM popped Ragnarok way too early, didn't realize how few members were theirs. I gotta stop because WE are looking to bait out this fight.
They do it fast with the Tristana. Look at Joel Mung, going to be crucial in this fight. Huanfeng at full HP as well. Ragnarok still not up and available as Bin's going into the Mega Gnar. Over into the pit, WE have bursted out. And Suning said, we'll take it, no problem. But the shockwave from Shank's great. Can Joel Mung and this mid laner clean it up? As SOFM says no. Joel Mung running for his life as the Undertow connects with the flash. And WE left with 180 carry and a lot of blinking health bars.
WE trying to find the fight. They go to the Baron. They think that they can win it with the numbers advantage that they have available. But just great play coming out from Bin. And Huanfeng is Joel Mung.
Can he do this?
What's the challenge?
The biggest question is, as he walks over, gets stunned. A lot of low health bars again, but Bin has teleported back at full HP. Jomong at half. But Baron is going to be given over. Suning have the edge in this game. A 3k gold lead and a fight that shortly we're going to be remembering for a while.
Hysterics, this is why so many of us predicted a 5-game series, because this game so far been on a knife's edge. The team fights have been close. The objective traits, everything has been close. We do see this coming out from Missing. Actually gets locked down. Really nice from Angel, but still, as we said, Olaf was already kind of forced on the fight, doesn't have the Ragnarok anymore. Beishang just able to start this one off. Really nice follow-up from Breathe, and Jomung as well with the jump. But here is where we saw Suning fight back. It is a numbers disadvantage for them. Angel is down, but keep your eyes on Bin. He is stacking that rage bar. Really nice engage from On. Chained in with Bin going in as well. Only knocks 2 members back, but it gives all this room for Huanfeng to deal damage. It was a really valiant effort from Shanks with that ultimate, but still not able to do enough. Really great to see from On, setting that play up. Bin with the follow-up, and just letting Huanfeng be that big hyper carry.
As Beishang's not done, WA actually starting the fight again. Shockwave hits 3 though. Zillionot will come out. We're about to dance to the Chrono Shift as he comes back, but On has done it again. Gets the Attractor Repel, and now Huanfeng's free hitting. WE are destroyed because On is no longer off. WE dead, and Suning with the Baron have the game in the palm of their hands.
And it's so great to see a rookie like this stepping up. On had all the question marks around him this split, but 2 amazing engages this game set up Suning for the win. And Suning just having so much momentum off their last series. It is a pleasure to watch.
They're running it forward, Lyric. A game 1 that was a bit back and forth. WE forced that play, but Suning outplayed in the end. A game 1 that has really ramped this up in 26 minutes of Suning. Run into the Nexus to take game number 1. They'll look for the kills as they finish off. The Shockwave comes through, but it's not really a Shockwave, rather, as the Magnet Storm will complete Suning. And man, I'll tell you what, that was a great way to start off the series.
And the thing is, right, we saw, I think it ended as like a 7k gold advantage. It was 12-5, but that game was extremely tense, very close a lot of the time. Pretty much decided by 2 team fights, right? That Baron bait coming out from WE, that On finds the massive engage, Bin follows up, and we see Huanfeng has so much room to free it. And then the second thing happened the next time around, where we highlighted earlier on how Suning's composition is totally fine with you running at them. Like, they have so much zone control. They even have an amazing re-engage, as we saw from that. And you saw Hanfeng at the start of that last fight. He was far away from all the action. It gave him, time and room to follow up because WWE don't really have a reliable way to get on top of him and get past the members of Suning.
That's right. And again, like you talked about how these comps operate. I like that you hit the nail on the head on Suning, and it came a little bit earlier than we expected. But there were times in that game where WE had some really good pick potential. WE had really great decision making. It came back to the, excuse me, I'm sorry, Mike. It came back to the point where WE were going to be more of that proactive team. I think you actually said on one of your little cheat sheets you gave to me, they're a combination of FPX rare Adam. They're very good at, making those decisions. They're stable all around. And Beisheng was really trying to force that game. But unfortunately, Suning had the better line in at the end.
And we're going to see Shanks' damage here is going to be insane, but we need to remember part of it is he's laning against a Zilean. He's going to get a ton of free damage off, but still, I don't want to undercut his efforts because Shanks did play very well this game again. He had a few just beautiful shockwaves coming out in these team fights, but in the end, Suning were playing the more intelligent game. They were playing the more objective-focused game. We saw the steals coming out from Suning. We saw them abusing WE's, I'd say, like misjudgment of like tempo coming out, which is something we've seen from them a lot this split. There was that time where, again, they could have forced that dragon play a lot earlier, and they just didn't. And then just a few oversteps coming out from the side of WE getting punished by Suning. But Suning also, another thing I want to highlight that we did talk about in game, I really loved how they played around their, like, the lack of vision WE would have in certain corridors where they'd have certain pinks there, kind of bait out those picks or even just poke over the wall. We saw numerous times around that mid lane brush where numerous members of WE walk in, they instantly get double bond from Zilean, the Jinx rockets or the W comes out, and it's like, well, so many of your members just lost a quarter to half of their HP.
And it's also something that I saw with Suning versus LNG. Suning are very good at predicting pathing, predicting map movement from their enemy, right? And I guess that comes back to vision control and not having vision in certain areas, knowing that that's most likely where they're going to be. I think it's what's been impressive about Suning so far from what we've seen. In the 4 games we've seen them, not just SOFM, but the team's working together so much better. I hope it continues forward. I hope we do get a competitive series running forward because game 1 was a fantastic start. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to a break. When we return, see what awaits us in game number 2.
Keep himself safe and the rest of the team now arriving at the fray. Zip goes down as Nuguri is on the chase. He's charging along with his flaming sword. He wants to cut them to size. I don't think he can close the gap. In they go with the Gale Force to take them down. Forge on 1 HP, but he's crit to fall. And a reheal. He doesn't have that unbreakable will. He already used it, and he's taken down for the triple.
God damn, I love the new FPX. Should and will are two very, very different words. As you can see, WE, they're trying to push themselves in. They know it's a 4v4. If they catch someone out, if they catch Wink out, he doesn't have anywhere to go. They jump in, Hexagon later, and a 3-man shockwave is a perfect combination. They can't get the lilting lullaby. They can't get anything else going for them. And Team WE will mop the floor with IG. Perfect engagement. But Rookie is here. They're going to use the TP from the Shy. He has got ultimate as well. Will flash in, pulverize Mako, trying to make up for that first game. The Shy is there. Actually, interesting interaction there. Gets the knock up, and they go straight in. Flandre is going down, but so is Rookie. They're trying to see if Lucas can get anything else down. They do get the Ornhorn out. Puff goes in. He has got the Inferno trigger. Puff gets 1. Puff gets 2. Puff gets 3. And Puff keeps the game alive for IG. Back while this dragon's being taken. Now the TP being committed here by Scout. Does not have the Shrima shuffle just yet. They're going to try and commit to this one on top of the dragon. They get in, but they do not get the dragon. That's third Drake here for EDG as the fight ensues. The rest of EDG trying to keep themselves alive. It is Bubi who falls, but they trade it for JJ. Massive 3-man knockup. It's a quadra kill out of nowhere for Viper, and they're going to try and gift him over to the Penta. They are going to give him over to him. Viper gets himself a Penta kill.
flash for himself, and the rest of the team needs to get in and protect him. It's going to be Carcer to go down, starting the fight. In goes 369 onto 5, but the rest of the team's not here. In comes Dragula with the bomb onto everyone. Do they have the damage to finish kills? The answer is yes, as down goes Viper, and Dragula has his moment in the sun. It's time to shine, baby. Trouble though, has to flash, stunned against the wall, but he's far away, so they can't commit to the play. FBX trying to start this Drake up as Breathe gets aggressed upon by LWX. Might just be able to swipe, but he misses the Vanguard's edge. And so huge stun onto LWX and Baseline trying to finish off the kill onto the AD carry.
Maybe they sent a little bit too far forward. Trade 1-for-1. I kind of feel like that's a little bit more worth for Team WE. Whoa! Jomom going in far, far too deep, but the fight will ensue. Missing, trying to go in there. They get not get the shuffle off. It's a double here for triple for Viper.
And this is what I was saying. If there's a pick, then it just goes out the window. As Lila, he's trying to time it, and Wooming's committing as well. OMG say, all right, let's fight then. But Angel picks up yet another kill. Golden as SOFM absorbs the damage from the rest of the team. But the shuffle out, the interaction perfect. This is why they gave this pick to Angel, as it's a quadra kill. And you know what? It's penta time for this mid laner. Killed by Haro. With 26 HP to go, he drops down as well. And Rogue Warriors now have to survive from Jackie Love, who gets 2 onto the 3rd. Jackie freaking Love, man, even though they originally lost the Baron.
Do anything, but they have the Rift Heralds. They might look to go for an engage in mid, try to take that turret. Crying clears the way, so they won't quite just get it, but a Magnet Storm is insane on top of the lilting lullaby. That was beautiful.
From we enter inside, I come through and lift up the vibe. That's just what we bring, we get like. Gonna get this party started alright all night. Got the rhythm on deck, I don't need to tell you what's next. Just jump to the rhythm and show me two-step. Jump to the rhythm and show me two-step. Got my cup full, I'm fine. Head to toe when that drip, I'm wavy. Couple man I ain't seen from time. Couple girl I might move to wine. Like, hey miss, if it's no crime, would you let this one dance be mine? But even if the stars don't align, ain't no way I'm gonna lose my shine. It's pure vibes on the floor. You got drinks? Brought some more. Got my brethren, all about. We ain't rich, we ain't poor. We're just flexing on the ends. I might text a couple more friends and get loose. It's the vibe when the man run up inside. From we enter inside, I come through and lift up the vibe. That's just what we bring, we get like. Gonna get this party started alright all night. Got the rhythm on deck, I don't need to tell you what's next. Just jump to the rhythm and show me two-step. Jump to the rhythm and show me two-step.
They keep talking, gonna shut them down. We don't really care what they talking about. They keep running their mouth. Stomp them out. They keep talking, gonna shut them down. We don't really care what they talking about. They keep running their mouth. Yo, keep talking all the chitter chatter, all the chitter chatter, all the chitter chatter. It don't matter, na 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 na. Keep talking all the chitter chatter, all the chitter chatter, all the chitter chatter. It don't matter, na 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 na. Keep talking all the chitter chatter, all the chitter chatter, all the chitter chatter. It don't matter, na 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 na. Keep talking all the chitter chatter, all the chitter chatter, all the chitter chatter. It don't matter, na 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 na. Blah blah blah. Break. Dance. Dance. No way you'll see my team. No, we beat them all. Stomp them out. They keep talking, gonna shut them down. We don't really care what they talking about. They keep running their mouth. Stomp them out. They keep talking, gonna shut them down. We don't really care what they talking about. They keep running their mouth. Yo, keep talking all the chitter chatter, all the chitter chatter, all the chitter chatter. It don't matter, na 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 na. Keep talking all the chitter chatter, all the chitter chatter, all the chitter chatter. It don't matter, na 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 na. Keep talking all the chitter chatter, all the chitter chatter, all the chitter chatter. It don't matter, na 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 na. Keep talking all the chitter chatter, all the chitter chatter, all the chitter chatter. It don't matter, na 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 na. Blah blah blah. Break. Dance. Dance. No way you'll see my team. No, we beat them all. They keep running their mouth.
距离对上 WE 也没过去多久，我感觉上次打他们挺遗憾的，因为我们大老远跑去西安跟他们打嘛。我觉得对上 WE 的话，我们应该比上次要做得好一点吧，就因为我们上次打的不是很好，然后我们学习准备的东西，我觉得就把我们平常训练的打出来的那种效果就行。
Well, it was a game one where they definitely had a strong effect on WE as Suning closed it out at under 30 minutes. A complete game where Suning punished in those fights. I'm Asterix. Next to me is Lyric, however far away, and I have to say that Suning really came off the bat of that 3-0 against LNG, strong into this series starting.
Yeah, I think we saw Suning do a great job of punishing a lot of, I don't even want to say over-aggression, feels like kind of missed target selection. I feel like WE played some of the fights a bit incorrectly. Great re-engages coming out from on to punish, and they set up Suning's comp where it felt like it was easier to play because, you know, had we seen Hecarim able to find good angles, rush in on top of the Jinx, force out the flash of the Zillion ultimate early, or even burst them out before, you know, like anything like that's even to come out, I think WE could have been in a strong position, but they didn't, and Suning completely capitalized and ended the game in a matter of minutes from, you know, when it went from even to 7K in no time.
In front of the Baron, right? WE trying to force the objective, turn around, and On is there waiting for you. The same again towards the bottom side river, and that's why he's your MVP of game number one. Great way to start the series off when On has been talked about as one of the weakest members, of course, filling in the shoes of Sword Art, who up until that World's Finals was so exemplary, you know, especially towards the last playoffs in summer. It is good to see On pick up his second MVP of the entire split when he has had some strong weaknesses.
Yeah, and I don't think it's unfair to say he's been clearly the weakest member of Suning. He's also the rookie coming in, so it's very understandable, you know, why he's had needs more time to acclimate to this roster. Performing again quite well in this game. We didn't see them lose out in the early game. We saw him have a lot of these good re-engages. In times like this where we said just punishing WE's like choice of when to look for these fights. Beishang, it felt like a lot of the heavy lifting had to be on his back because I'll be honest, I don't think Flash Renekton into the backline it is really going to work out for this comp. He would need to be coming off some sort of flank, which would be hard for them to get. So it needs to be Beishang to find that angle onto Jinx. Wasn't able to do it On, and the rest of Suning were there to punish every time.
It's just crazy to me how that game started where Bin TP'd in for his second death. We went to Beishang starting 2-0, and then it ended in that manner against Suning. So we need to see W step up as they have elected to go on blue side for game number 2. No surprise, as this is their most preferred side from the regular season. Suning love red as well, so both teams probably happy to swap that around as Lyric, a little bit of change in the ban on the red side here for Suning as they ban away the Gragas Thresh, but it is just going to be the same first pick for WE.
Yeah, so changing out, taking away the Kaisa, which has been primarily Jomung's best champion this split, so it is something I understand. It also fits really well with those compositions that want to dive the backline. You see the Hecarim go in, it sets up so well to Kaisa just be able to follow it up. And there we go, we're running it back.
Yeah, the exact same draft. And I also want to throw out to some of our chat who are going to be darting between two streams, I know. Just remember at the start of this series, we talked about Jinx being a big pick for both these AD carries. Both AD carries have a 100% win rate on it with something like 6-7 games here for Huanfeng, or at least a huge KDA now to add to it. So another big pick here for the AD carry, as they're just going to take away more from the bottom lane of WE with those bans.
I mean, it's still just following the same script as last game, the All-Star ban coming out. Now it is a bit different because Suning can't ban out the Kaisa this time around because it's already banned, and WE taking away the Zilean. So it'll be interesting to see where Suning index into with that off the board. I would expect and hope WE still take away the Azir rather than the Twisted Fate. I feel like that peel and that disengage can be a lot more impactful than, you know, maybe the early game pick potential that TF would provide to this composition.
Very true. Angel, second time on the Zilean as well. And something that needs to be taken away. Angel getting more priority as we go on here in playoffs. I'm sure that's something we'll say. The Aphelios being hovered as a ban again. There's the Twisted Fate that's going to be taken away anyway. So double mid lane ban. And let's see if Suning just go back to mid lane safety again for Angel. Or now that that's taken away, if they look for an SOFM pick.
I feel like you just take the Azir here. They didn't opt into banning that. They still are too afraid of the threat that Twisted Fate provides on the map early, but actually, this was a hover we saw in game one. It fulfills that same role of just kind of enabling your hyper carry AD to do what she does best, fine in the laning phase, and yeah, I really like the adaptation from Suning, and it's going to be the first Seraphine mid we do see in playoffs, and Angel's second time picking up the champion.
Yeah, it was seen a couple of times within the regular season. Of course, you already mentioned how it facilitates, but, you know, a little bit more so, right? Like, the Sona 2.0 here in the mid lane for Angel. And going up against the Orianna, we'll have to see how Shanks can punish it. But Lyric on the side of WE, I don't want people to fall asleep, but it looks like the exact same draft. Thinking that, no, it wasn't the draft that was an issue. It was the selection that you talked about and execution at the end of the day.
I mean, right, like, no matter kind of where you end up on drafts, they were very close. They both had clear ways to win that game. WE definitely botched the execution. And I'm just going to say, I wouldn't be surprised to just see Suning run the Olaf again. You have all the sustain coming out in the mid lane, so going with something that has built-in sustain as well and enabling that even more just feels like a very clear place for Suning to go.
Yeah, don't get baited, guys. You're not going to see a Kiana in the jungle, even though SOFM's full of surprises. Today, he keeps it pretty clean, and in game 2, as he smiles, he knows that you're not happy to see the Olaf, but we get the same exact comps, bar the Seraphine. Nothing changes up here, and for Suning, they're thinking, yep, okay, we'll just do it all again. We'll just use the Seraphine like we did with the Zilean.
I'll be honest, I even think it's slightly better in the composition than the Zilean was, because it provides, you know, far more zone control than the Zilean does. It enables the whole team. It has a bit of a better laning phase than the Zilean early on as well, right? So exactly, it does the same job, slightly differently, but I'd say overall better than what he provided. Could just be a difference coming down to comfort for Angel, to where we know we already saw him on the Zilean before. Could just have a lot more confidence on that champion, but still, we ran through win conditions game one. Going to be a lot of the same. I think a big thing to keep our eye on early is what's going to be the change in how we see top laners play and kind of how junglers path around that.
That's right, because jungle has been the matchup here, as you see on your screen. Jungle has been what has dictated a lot of the tempo plays, especially within the first game. But remember, you already mentioned Suning, scaling advantage coming through. So for WE, let's see how they pull this together. Let's see how the target selection goes into game number 2 at the very least.
I also want to highlight, once again, right, it's not a clear-cut scaling advantage coming out. I definitely don't think that's the case. It comes down to how these compositions play out. I think WE, some changes they need to make from last game, just get on the objective first, find those angles with Beishang and Breathe, and they'll have a good time.
See those angles, how WE can come back in the series going into game number 2. Suning absolutely demolished them in those 2 key fights, got them to game 1. Now up in the advantage here in the series. Remember, the winner of this goes to face on against Top Esports, who right now feel like they're in massive form. As the gyos come out, ladies and gentlemen, we can't hear them, but we assume the crowd is pumping out the volume here today. And as we see Suning fan out, nothing happens here in the early game. But the Seraphine graces us in the mid lane. Angel, once again on his mid lane champion, has taken the unsealed spellbook.
You know, here's a question for you, since again, me and you actually can't hear the gyos. Who gets louder gyos? A dynasty organization like WE or a world finalist like Suning? Or is it the same?
Here's the thing. WE normally in Xi'an, that's where their base is. So I think it's Suning. Also, they went to Worlds last year. They went to World Finals. And they weren't as expected in the World Finals. But, hey, I think their fan base has grown. And especially since they're in Shanghai. Because Suning doesn't actually have an arena. So I'd expect it to be Suning. I guess the chat at one point will tell us maybe a little bit later. People can DM us. But finally onto Summoner's Rift, sir. It's good to see it once again, even though it's pretty much the same drafts. You talked a little bit about the solo lanes here once again, as Breathe is trying to establish himself up against Bin.
And, you know, one thing to highlight that we didn't highlight last game is the fact that SOFM is starting solo red. Does mean that Huanfeng and On will be able to hit that level 2 first, right? Zhomeng and Missing did go for that leash. I'd say both should be able to assume the pathing's coming out. They'll know very shortly, at least, because WE once again getting that ward onto the Raptor camp, and Suning know that Beishang is pathing up towards the top side.
Similar vision controls. Missing throws out a hook once again here in this bottom lane. Just peek your eyes over towards mid. You can see that Angel actually pushing out this lane up against Shanks. He's got the first shove at the very least, at a bit of a CS lead, until Shanks is able to pick up the wave at the turret.
And I mean, that's better for this matchup that we talked about. I think Seraphine has a lot more laning presence. I remember a lot of people made comparisons to Sona just with how her kit functions, but she kind of always seemed like a go-between for me between a Sona and a Nico, to where you have a lot of the strong trading patterns. You outrange, you have the CC, then you just have the sustain as well.
Very true, and remember the Encore as well, something that's very painful to deal with. I feel like is the biggest nuisance, better than Crescendo, is considering when you can use the range through your allies. And I think we're just going to get another slow game again, right? As Suning's pushing in the bottom lane. That's a good little dredge line onto On. He gets knocked down, but the Ferromancy crashdown cannot be interrupted, so he'll escape once again.
Trade ends up being about even because Huanfeng also able to get some trades off onto Zhomeng on the back end of that. They're going to push the wave in, so they will be able to guarantee that bounce back. Both junglers, once again, just trading sides of the map with where they're going to get Scuttle Crabs. Bin this time around, though, does have a ward for himself in the top Tri-Brush. And we can also see Angel was able to get a ward down around Raptor Camp as well. So, going to be harder for Beishang to make these cheeky plays, but he is Ghost.
Yeah, because Bin pushes out. There's the flash immediately. About to go into the Mega Gnar. He's waiting for the flash. He gets knocked back anyway. The hop is there. One more bit of damage needed. He gets knocked back. Beishang has used his Ghost. And this time, Bin will survive the gank.
Really nice of him to hold that hop, you know, be able to guarantee that escape. Was able to hold onto his flash as well, pops the Mega, so would be much harder for W to look to execute this. Even SOFM pathing up this time around for his clear. They might be able to punish Breathe. Breathe has no flash.
That's right, he burned it in the engage, and now he's in the middle of the lane. Bin's chasing after him. The hop is going to zone him away, and Breathe is going to get tagged up here. First slice of the dice. Turret's going to hit once as well. There's the undertow. And does he want to give it over to his top laner? Yes, he does. Punished well with Suning's first blood.
So we're already seeing some adaptation coming from game one, just Bin being more conscious of the potential early ganks coming out from Beishang, holding onto that E in lane. And then SOFM, I mean, he did path topside, so that's where his camps are respawning regardless, but still making his way up around that 4-minute, 15-second mark to punish the flash burned by Breathe in that exchange. And ooh, I really like this hover from Angel. Just reading well of what W are going to do. They make a play on top side. They know that Beishang will look to punish on the bottom half of the map. He had already pushed in the wave and prevented that from happening.
And means that early game means that for WE, already down a significant amount. About 1,000 gold brewing here at 5 minutes with First Blood going over to the Gnar. And I guess this is the difference, right? In game one, it went over to Beishang, went to the jungler. The lane for Bin was already going to be good here on the Gnar, and it does feel like Bree's going to be in a bit of trouble. Let's see what Suning do to try and abuse the matchup further.
And that's the thing of where I feel like the game one came down to execution for WE, because WE were able to get the advantage. WE, missing, goes back for the hook.
Does it go further? There's the explosive charge now popped down. SOFM's walking down, but It is just going to simply be to put pressure onto Jolmong and Missing as he takes the undertow. Oh my god.
Oh, and SOFM just wraps
Yeah,
around.
Jolmong and Missing don't respect it. A track and repel. Rocket jump away. The re-engage burnt. As there's the flash as well onto SOFM. He's just hit 6 with the Ragnarok. That heal up will also come off, leveling up too. And SOFM playing cheeky to Jolmong and Missing surprise.
And he's still going. The thing was, WE still had summoner spells when he went for that wraparound, so there was no world where they would be able to find a kill. At best, they would have been able to get a summoner, but with the punish just coming through, I like that WE this time around are taking advantage of this. We see that Beishang is on the dragon, and look at your mini-map. Breathe was even hovering towards the bottom half of the map. If any potential action would have broke out around mid lane, and just kind of guaranteeing, hey, I pushed in my wave, I'm controlling vision topside by getting the Scuttle Crab, and he's looking to just punish Suning to full effect.
No flash, but the teleport advantage if anything goes wrong as well. Angel, how far does he push with the wave here? Backs away, pays respect that the Renekton is missing, and Breathe will be able to make a safe back here with the plated steel caps. And actually gets to walk to lane as well, as the wave is currently at a pretty good point for Bin.
Yeah, Bin just kind of holding the wave there after Breathe got in the push. He shouldn't be able to freeze it. We didn't actually see whether it was crashed into tower or not, but for the fact that Breathe spent so much time in river and around Raptors, you can assume he pushed it in. So Bin probably building up a massive wave right now that Breathe is going to be able to catch. Pays the respect, gets a control ward down as well, making sure, hey, no shenanigans are going to come out. They also have the Scuttle Crab, so no dive should be coming out around topside at any point now. Feels like the next thing we're looking at will be that Rift Herald spawning in the next 30 seconds, where WE have the push in bot. They're going to get the bounce back topside. They should be the team who I would expect to look for that play.
Scuttle priority there as well, and we'll see. Shanks has actually gone back, picked up the tier earlier, but now has the Sork shoes in hand as well, so let's see how WE prepare for this. 15 seconds till it comes up. Jolmong staying in lane, and this is something we've talked a lot about in the LPL, where bottom lanes will often move, set themselves up for a potential skirmish, and give priority over the objective. But you can see so far, it is only the support in Missing who has made the move, while the bottom lane of Suning are still there.
I mean, that's all they need to do, right? Because you have a Tristana, you have the Rocket Jump, you have Cleanse, you have Flash. In the 1v2 lane, I think he's pretty safe and pretty well prepared to deal with the aggression that Huanfeng and On can bring. Okay. The only thing he'd have to be afraid of is any potential 3v1s coming out if SOFM does look for that dive, is he's at least going to get vision in the jungle. And, ooh, if Missing had done that even 1 second later, I think that would have been rough. Doesn't have Flash up.
Yeah, he would have been caught out, would have been dead. SOFM going to spot him out with the ward there now at the very least, but they know where this jungler is, so the bottom side has to pay that respect. While Beishang this time around, game number 2, the Rift Herald number 1 will actually go over to him. So a decent start here for WE despite losing up in the top side. There's the ultimate burn to disengage as SOFM comes in. No Ragnarok burn, but Jolmong was expecting On to jump on him.
And the thing I really like about this last play we saw around Rift Herald, right, is it was a whole sequence of events that kind of set up and led to it being so easy the past 2 minutes of, you know, us highlighting the wave push in top, the hover around mid, the plays around bot side. So I like WE going step by step, going through the motions to secure their objectives this time around. They are at a bit of a gold deficit right now. We can see, looks like that's mostly going to be coming from the top lane with Bin just being ahead right now. But actually, Breed's going to pick all of this up in, you know, once he catches his wave. Looking to hold a freeze, though.
Yeah, he's
going to let those come in.
But Bin going to take the Krugs in the meanwhile. While you were talking about gold, I also want to pay attention and point our audience towards the mid lane as, you know, earlier on we did see the push coming out from Angel, but Shanks has done quite well in this lane. He's about 110 CS at about the 10-minute mark. So far things looking good here for WE to really stem the early game that Suning felt like they were going to build up from the top side. And I was going to ask you about the Rift Herald, but Beishang maybe already has an answer for me.
No, they're playing heavily around their bottom side. They also have Prio in mid, so it would be very easy for Shanks to just lean and play around this lane as he's going to start doing now. I like that Beishang is protecting his control wards when he knows that Shanks is here and that their bottom lane can very easily follow up. But this play is still giving Suning a lot of time to respond. SOFM's already making his way over, as well as Angel's been missing mid for quite a while. So WE know, hey, this took a bit too long. They didn't fall for the bait of looking for this engage around this ward, and WE do back off in the end.
Shows a better style of team, right? You're not going to try and double down on your losses, maybe like an IG would, and make the dive anyway. You pull back and you go back to your standard lanes. So it does feel like WE holding fast here in this game. Still down by about 700 gold, but at this point, I think it's important to talk about, as we get towards this next Dragon Lyric, and what you expect to see with the Herald still being held as a potential plus for WE's Beishang.
I think WE are still in a very good position for any early action that does break out. I think for Suning, we're looking towards when Seraphine does pick up the Moonstone Renewer, and then, can start being a bit of annoyance in these team fights for WE to deal with. But Suning are looking to try to find a potential pick before the Dragon starts. They do get control of Vision Bot, but Beishang's coming off a base. They're going to be able to walk into River, and look at the minimap. Breathe is also making his way down already.
Doesn't want to TP, wants to walk straight on in. The mid wave going to be pushed here exquisitely fast. Shanks has the shockwave and is level 10. As he walks on down, SOFM a little bit low, but that won't stop the Olaf, as Beishang going to be the one to start it off.
And I think this should just be WE's. Again, this was where they made some mistakes in Game 1, I felt, where they had a comp and they had the pressure early on to where they can be on the objective first. I feel like that gives them a lot more potential flank or engage angles to come out, for Suning in a lot more awkward positions than if you are the team running into them. And sure, they did lose some gold and some pressure out in top lane. Bin is getting a bit more of an advantage, but still, they're at least on their way to getting a very early soul if they're able to maintain what they've been doing.
It's going to be a more explosive soul. We have an Infernal gracing us on the Rift, and this time around, you're right, WE first 2 dragons of the game. While Bin was pushing up in that top side. I didn't get to look at how many plates. I believe it was 3, as I see on my mini-map. So it is a decent start here for Bin on the Gnar, who should be able to get the Mythic in this first back as well. And it does just feel like we have a much slower early game, as WE willing to trade the sides yet again.
And they will be able to guarantee this turret in the bot side, so they're at least going to open up a point of pressure. I don't think immediately this is really going to equal into any kind of picks coming out from the side of WE. And a big thing to keep our eye on is the fact that since Bin has just been solo farming in top side, you mentioned he probably is able to pick up that Mythic on his back. He is going to start being able to win out in those side lanes, so at least this game, Bin will be more of a pressure point than last game, where Breathe picked up the early kill, so Bin wasn't able to punish him in that isolated laning phase.
As SOFM and Breathe actually going to meet up in the meantime. Missing his move 2. There's no Herald up here, but Missing just starting to be proactive as the wave getting pushed in the top side. And Bin won't find the turret for now. Just a bit of a reminder, we saw first turret blood going over to W in the bottom lane. Hence the gold a lot closer now on the scoreboard, as everyone kind of backing off too, getting the first items thanks to that extra gold injection. And Missing feeling very confident. Look at the deep vision that he's willing to go for with Breathe pretty far away in that top side.
I mean, still, they know that Bin went for his recall, so there shouldn't be any immediate fear unless SOFM just walking through his jungle by himself. But as Missing, you can queue away. Tristan is not too far away. Breathe is able to follow up as well. You still have your flash. But WE might be able to get a pick on Angel. He does have flash and does have heal, but with Huanfeng walking up, no cheeky shenanigans are going to be attempted.
I guess we should wait till the next dragon, right? I mean, 2 minutes 45 till that comes through, and we do have the Moonstone Renewal for Angel. So new question for you, Lyric. If we have those items on the board, or at least towards the next Herald, do you feel like Suning feel confident in fighting in this stage? Especially when you have Huanfeng, who's picked up his Mythic as well.
I feel like for Suning, it's going to be about playing around the pressure that Bin is still able to generate, especially right now. Get him move first, which will allow for Suning to hit wave first and then get on the objective first. So a lot of firsts that we want to see come out for Suning to be able to get a fight that should be advantageous. Because if that sequence doesn't happen and you just have, Shanks able to group, Jomung moving over to mid, they're spamming their abilities on the wave, they get on the objective again. Suning are then put in a more awkward position where we're coming more down to execution, where Suning are the team who have to walk into Orianna. Beishang will be able to find flank angles and get on top of the Jinx. You don't have a Zillion revive this time around, so the get out of jail free card isn't exactly the same.
And just look at the vision set down by WE, especially around this Herald that they've pretty much taken control of as SOFM backs away. They knew this was going on. Suning let it go, and second Herald of the game over to WE. That's all the objectives, in fact. As Breathe and Missing just partnering up in this top lane, and this is WE making the proactive move first yet again. And
it was the whole map. We saw Shanks push in the wave bot. He was able to hover over very fast towards mid. WE playing heavily around mid, but Suning bringing in the TPs. Yeah, they want to go for it.
He took a lot of turret shots here, Lyric, so Breathe could be in a bit of trouble. Dominus still there, Onslaught of Shadows to escape. The flashes burn as well. Ragnarok won't enable the turret dive. WE get away, but Suning force a lot of summoners out of that top lane engage as there's depth charge. Huanfeng in a lot of trouble as well. Shanks has enough with the flash shockwave, but won't commit for it as Huanfeng will manage to slide away.
I mean, and that's why we talked about, Suning's team comp, running at WEs isn't anything guaranteed. They did force a lot of summoners because WE were so far overextended, but right, your only true engage is the Rel, and sure, I guess you can combo the Seraphine on top of that with the ult range being extended through allies as well. But Suning still coming out as the winner of that play, able to guarantee top turret, but WE going punch for punch in the mid lane.
That'll even up the gold yet again. If I'm just going to wait to see the health of the turret. Maybe not kill the turret, but add a bit of pressure as Bin has now teleported in as well. Look at the map movements. Look at where everyone is. Breathe on the bottom side as Herald charges on in, and it's around this next dragon. This will be Dragon Soul Point if WE can pick it up.
And we do have key items coming out for the side of Suning. Moonstone and New Reserve. Bin also being tankier than his counterpart.
A lot of damage coming from Shanks on the return onto SOFM. Jolmong backing away as well. River priority given over to Suning. You talked about first here. They were into the river first. They did walk in first. But now WE trying to re-ascertain control themselves, clearing away vision.
And a big thing is we don't have flash on Breathe, but Beishang does have Ghost and his ultimate is about to be up. So once again, all of our eggs are in the Beishang basket. I do like that we saw him hovering towards the bottom side of the dragon, so he's at least very aware of, again, he needs to be coming at an awkward angle, find his way onto Huanfeng, chain in Shank's ultimate and try to get that first down. I just don't think it's going to be that easy.
Look at where Bin is, though, for the time being, as Dragon gets started. Onslaught of Shadows still available for Beishang. Bin targeted out. He goes into the middle, though. Sent away is Jolmong, but he's out to do no damage as Suning walked towards the rest of WE. It's over in an instant yet again, and Suning have just destroyed WE in Game 2.
And I think Suning are just have a very clear understanding of how they need to play out their composition. They're performing mechanically well. They're executing the team fights how they need to, but again, they realize how they need to play these out. They were playing around that choke point around their tower, once again trying to get some poke damage come out from over the wall. They forced their way into River, get on the objective, and again, Renekton has no flash. Missing shouldn't be able to find an angle where he's going to be able to get a hook off onto any meaningful target. And then we're just looking at Beishang. Channels up to E, but Bin is putting so much threat on that flank, and it gives room for On to go in. And look at Beishang now. It actually doesn't matter even had he gotten onto Huanfeng, because On and Bin are doing so much at zoning off from the side. And then they're just very easily able to follow up. Huanfeng has so much room to do damage. We saw the Seraphine ult come out as well.
And Missing just dies in lifetime.
Missing, yeah.
Yeah. That's not good. And I just want to point out as well, Shanks died before he could Shockwave in that fight. Did a lot of zoning, but Shockwave never come through, which feels like one of the key tools for WE. And yet again, we got to another fight around an objective where WE failed.
The problem is, right, he could have hit a Shockwave onto On and Bin, and, maybe that could have set up for Jolmong to reposition and get off more autos and maybe change the fight a bit differently. But at the same time, you saw how much room was bought for Huanfeng, which feels like the massive thing in these fights is we see Missing just getting caught out going a bit too far forward for a ward. And typical day in the office for Suning.
Yeah, and typical support, I'd say, so getting caught out for wards as he will set this up with a dredge line. Ragnarok burnt immediately. There's the attract and repel. On tries to help the jungler as WE committing for the engage here. Onslaught of Shadows means Beishang goes deep. There's that dredge line, pretty lucky that didn't connect at the end of the day. WE back away after taking away SOFM's summoner, and that for WE will be a small potential window to see what they can do.
Still, though, no objective up on the map, right? You don't have Dragon. I guess they could try to put some pressure through mid and then maybe hover towards topside and take that down, but still, that's just going to be a bit of standing gold. Suning are still far ahead in terms of gold and items, so not able to turn that into anything meaningful. Still, SOFM no flash, as Ragnarok will be up by the time the next dragon is up, though. And there's a very interesting thing I want to talk about that we saw Huanfeng say before the game, where he said, hey, we got 2-0'd by WE in the regular season, but we had to fly to Xi'an. We had a travel day. And I think that's something a lot of fans and, even us as casters and people who watch LPL don't regularly realize is when we're getting back into these stadiums and you have to dedicate a full travel day towards, going to another arena and then another travel day towards going home, that definitely has a big impact on your prep, on your scrims, on your mentality. And it feels like we might be seeing that here for Suning, where they didn't have to do that this time around, and just such a clean lead against WE 2 games in a row.
And let's not forget,
at least clean punishment in the mid game.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's not forget its home crowd advantage as well, especially for WE's arena, right? I think WE fans, and especially with their old arenas, 600 people, 600 seats could be filled there. And I know during COVID it's a very different story, but for WE, one of the grandest arenas, and that travel thing you bring up is quite interesting, considering that here for Suning, back in Hongqiao, the place they normally play if they're not at someone else's arena, as Bin is hypering down. Here comes the next one as Boomerang close to hitting yet again. Meganar about to be complete. And Bin in this side lane having a great old time, as Suning using that advantage to push in ever so deep against WE's jungle.
And this is a combination of them benefiting off that fight, but also what we saw start up earlier. Shanks, though,
there's a big shot.
Doesn't do any damage, but it looked cool.
It looked cool, you're right. But WE not willing to follow it up, and there you go. Shockwave's down 55 seconds before Dragon.
It did nothing.
It did nothing. Hey,
but it looked great.
It really did. And
I'm just saying, in a highlight, if you cut it off right there, the imagination can do
big
wonders.
Shockwave. Yeah, I know. You're like, wow, what could happen from here? So, look, no damage, but now for WE, still hitting around the same choke. On gets poked out quite a bit. Shanks' Shockwave. I think my question is it going to be up before Dragon spawns? The answer looks to be yes, as it's half off the cooldown already. 25 seconds from the Dragon spawning up as well. Side lane's really in order for Suning. It's something you talked about heavily. Suning have great side lane control, and yet again, the pressure's in as the Dragon's about to come to light.
And that's the thing, right? Because, again, they got a huge gold injection from the last fight, but even when W is opting for those early objectives, we saw Suning opt out of it and say, hey, we're just going to get more gold on the Bin, we're going to get plates onto him, he's farming his Krugs, he's farming the enemy Gromp, and we even saw that in the last fight where he's been starting and slowly getting up these item advantages to where he's a dead man's plate, he already has another Winged Moon plate to where Breathe is just sitting on his Stride Breaker and a Phage.
Been a really rough time this time around for Breathe as Dragon goes down. Shank's going to trade it for the top lane turret, and so it feels like we were set up for higher expectations of this series, but Suning look like the overall better team. You talked about knowing their composition, knowing their game plan especially, and how they want to run this comp. Again, thank you for correcting me earlier. It's not about scaling here in this game, especially how Suning run this composition now with the Seraphine. And they have been running the fights better. They have been on the same page, where WE, I guess you could argue, target selection, timing has been something that hasn't been as good as Suning so far.
Definitely hasn't, and that was an area I expected Suning to have an advantage in the series, right, was their mid-game. Because we've seen they've been a brilliant mid-game team. They've done a great job of coordinating around side lanes. I think SOFM's read of enemy jungle has been really nice. But I thought WE's early game would be explosive enough, or at least consistent enough, for them to, pick up some advantages and run those home.
As on, that's the Magnet Storm again. He'll die for it. There's the encore. Do you want more? As SOFM joins the party. Shockwave great though, but Beisheng dies as he goes into the onslaught of shadows. The pony dies. The RSPCA called, and Suning do it all again.
And Suning now just going to be able to push through the base. That timer is only 20 seconds, so they don't want to overforce for any kind of end. They're just going to take the safe route, turn this into a Baron. Health bars are about 50%, but still only Joe Mung up. I don't expect him to look for any shenanigans that he was threatening last game. Now Suning, going to come up on the map. They're not only going to be able to push that side lane advantage even further, but look at items as well. Huanfeng went for the rapid fire cannon, which I think is a great read, when it's like, hey, as long as WE's comp doesn't get onto me, that is all that matters. We will win any fight where they can't get onto me. And again, they either need Hecarim to get on the backline, which I think is very hard with your team being able to follow up, or Renekton and Flash. So great purchase. Seraphine also at full power already, only needed the Moonstone, also as a Staff of Flowing Water. Their siege is going to be insane, and we're going to go into the replay. On finds the engage, goes in a bit too early, gets picked off. But it's going to give room for Breathe to think he can go in. But look at this, Missing and Beisheng already chunked out by the time that can start. Great encore coming out from Angel. Huanfeng forced to flash and cleanses as well. Rapid Fire Cannon, though, shows up. He's able to get off all the DPS, and right now it's just a stats difference, Hysterics. They just have too many items. They're just too far ahead, and 2 Infernals on top of it. I mean, WE needs some kind of like cheeky Hail Mary or crazy overstep coming out from Suning.
Because even then, right, that felt like one of the best conditions for WE. You know, Shockwave is great. Even though Beisheng goes down, he hits the Onslaught of Shadows with half of the fear range. But Suning still prevail. Huanfeng still prevails. And in this series, Suning are showing up massive. As I feel like for WE, some of the execution going to need some work if we go to this game 3, 2-0 down. WE on their last legs in front of the base. Beisheng poking out. And Suning left as a 4 as that Blast Cone. Cheeky as well. And Bin sitting in the bottom side, pushing in against this Renekton.
I mean, W have one play available to them, and again, it's like a disadvantageous play as well, as they need to give up one lane and just all in the other side. Try to find a pick off, and then give themselves some more breathing room to where after they counteract the other push, Suning will then have to back off. But Ragnarok coming out...
Yeah, missing, waiting for the engage.
I don't think action should break out.
Oh no, On's done it again. Attractor Repel, the Encore flies through, and everyone are in from Suning. Huanfeng at full HP. Ladies and gentlemen, you know how this fight's gonna go. This is going to match point as soon as it's begun. Beisheng yet again gonna die at the hands of who knows, as Huanfeng burns him down. And Suning just look absolutely on point here today. They destroyed LNG, and they want to do it again against WE.
Just great performance coming out. Jomug, though,
Everyone goes
doesn't
golden.
matter. Suning are going to get the win. They're going to pick up another kill. And already on match point again. They were the lower seed. They were coming in, I think, in a lot of people's minds as the underdog into this series. But Suning improving from the regular split. I think they were already ramping up over the season as well. Again, match point, let's remember, if WE lose this series, WE are just out. There's just no more. We are not in the double elimination portion of this playoff bracket yet.
Man, it's been a really great start of the series for Suning. I don't know, in a chamber, you watch this series, you think, Suning are just, you know, such a great team. It doesn't feel like the WE that you know, I was expecting personally coming into this. Doesn't feel like the WE that we thought would be competitive. They're running out of options very early in the game. And we're not getting to see, you know, the backline access, the target selection that you see with a lot of Hecarims, with Shockwave on Orianna. Like, there are many tools on WE, but not as effective, apparently, as Suning's tools, especially in that game.
Again, I really like Suning's read of the series. I love that they were willing to run it back and recognize, hey, again, like, we know how to play out this composition against what WE are doing. It should be harder to execute for WE unless they're able to get more advantages off the early game. Again, I felt like game 1 was good for WE. That amount of advantages in the early game, how they were able to punish Bin, how they were able to utilize their Orianna with her push. It's sad that they weren't able to get a win off that game, but this time around, Suning even read it well, right? We saw Bin playing more respectful in the top lane. We saw the punish coming out from SOFM, and then they just had a lot easier of a time playing out this game.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we saw good Seraphine performance come out from Angel. I think On, once again, having some primed engages. And who's going to kill Huanfeng? Who is going to get on this Jinx?
Because we saw, I mean, that the fight around Red Buff was a great example. It's like Huanfeng will survive whatever the case. And it's great to see from Suning. I know we could just compliment them all day. For WE, then I guess the question is, do you just change things out? Do you just go for a left-wing draft that is completely different to at least kind of try and preserve the series?
I don't necessarily think you need to go for like any kind of like crazy left-wing draft. I think you don't run back what you did this time around. Maybe try to breathe a stronger matchup in the top side. Let's remember that losing team does choose side. WE have consistently opted into blue, and it's like, sure, they actually do have like good laning matchups to where mid has had a winning matchup 2 times in a row, sure, against Seraphine, or he doesn't push the first few waves, but after that he did fine. And then top is a matchup where if you can make it volatile with jungle, Renekton will get pressure, Renekton will be able to easily push in waves, as we saw this game. But I'd like to see WE maybe put more emphasis onto playing through breathe and shutting down Bin like they did in game 1, because that game felt like there was a tangible way to win.
Yeah, it really did. And for WE, running quite sparse here. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, there is no second life, as Lyric said before. A 2-0 start for Suning. on match point here in round 2, ready to go up against Top Esports. We'll see if WE have anything to say to bring back some kind of reverse sweep.
It's playoff time, and we've got a couple of changes coming into the 2021 spring playoffs. So, let's talk about playoff formats. Firstly, the amount of teams has been expanded this year from the original 8 to now allowing 10 teams to participate. These teams will be divided into 2 halves of the bracket, one side consisting of the 1st, 4th, 5th, 8th, and 9th seeded teams from the regular season, the other consisting of the 2nd, 3rd, 6th, 7th, and 10th. There'll be 2 phases to the new format. The first phase will be played under the gauntlet rules, same as previous LPL playoffs. The 2 lowest seeded teams from each half of the bracket will play in a best of 5 match, 10th versus 7th and 8th versus 9th. The losers are eliminated from playoffs, and the winner continues to challenge the next highest seeded team. This repeats for 2 more playoff rounds. Now the second phase begins. The top 2 teams from the regular season and the 2 gauntlet winners begin a double elimination bracket. The winners of the semi-finals will not move directly into the finals, however, nor will the losers be eliminated. Instead, the winners and losers will play against each other, where the victor of the losers match will have another shot at continuing their playoff run, while the victor of the winners match will advance to the finals. The loser of that winners match, though, gets a chance at redemption again, facing the winner of the losers match for that all-important last ticket to the LPL Spring Finals, held on April 18th.
I'm alone, only know myself no more. Take it to the grave, I'll ghost. I know I can be so cold. In the dark, where I like to keep my heart. No more bite, no bark. Like to catch you way off guard. I'll stay so deep inside your brain and take you somewhere far away. Time to roll the dice, you know I'm the type to risk my life, not afraid to die. Type to make you cry, type to put a price all up on your head. Do just what I said. I'm a straight up villain, yeah, no feeling, yeah, no feeling. Straight up villain, yeah, no feeling, yeah, no feeling. I'm alive, but I'm dead. Hear my voice up in your head. Watch it fill you full of dread till you go. Is it really a surprise if I'm playing with your mind and I treat you like a prize? Then I throw you to the side. And am I really that bad if I love to make you mad and get happy when you're sad? Only care about a bad in control. That's how I like it, and I'm never letting go. No, never had a soul, so you ain't taking nothing from me when you go. Nah, I'll stay so deep inside your brain and take you somewhere far away. Time to roll the dice, you know I'm the type to risk my life, not afraid to die. Type to make you cry, type to put a price all up on your head. Do just what I said. I'm a straight up villain, yeah, no feeling, yeah, no feeling. Straight up villain, yeah, no feeling, yeah, no feeling. But I'm dead, you know what's up in your head. Watch it fill you full of dread till you go. Bang, bang, you can do anything. No fear, no pain. Listen to your brain go. Go stupid, go dumb, go stupid, and nights, not afraid to die. Type to make you cry, type to put a price all up on your head. Do just what I said. I'm straight up villain, straight up villain. Yeah, no feeling, yeah, no feeling. Straight up villain, straight up villain. Yeah, no feeling, yeah, no feeling. But I'm dead, my voice up in your head. Watch it fill you full of dread till you go.
第一场比赛过后，我们之间还发现一些分上面的问题了。之后我们复盘的时候也会好好讨论的。我觉得这场对阵 WE， 我们主要关注我们中下的 BP 吧。我们中下 BP 做的比较好，我们觉得我们就能拿到比赛的胜利。
It's so funny because it does feel like they've had better picks in mid and bot. They've had a better game plan going forward. They've had better target selection as we've discussed throughout the last couple of games. I'm Hysterics. I'm joined by Lyric on my right. Back in action finally. But to see Suning start the series 2-0 in under an hour, Lyric.
Yeah, it's really crazy. Again, game one was incredibly close despite kind of how fast it ended and what the scoreline entails. It just came down to 2 team fights. Game two felt like early game was close. I really like WE's map movements. Again, we saw Breathe consistently hovering towards mid. We saw, Beishang making, I'd say, the correct rotations around objectives. But still, I felt like Suning had a better read of how to play the game. Much better execution in terms of team fighting. And man, I really like this Seraphine pick. We saw On going for a lot of these engages or re-engages. And then the Encore was just always on point to follow it up.
MVP, of course, here comes through for Angel. A very cute MVP for game number 2, and I think well deserved. I mean, even in the game 1, he was a great facilitator, and Angel's playing his role well. This mid lane pick is actually helping Suning find success too. And it is just good to see Suning in this form overall, right? I think I've been quite harsh on them towards the start of the season. They're one of the teams that have progressed the most, especially with their support mid, who have hit higher levels.
Let's be honest, none of us at the start of the split expected Suning to be in playoffs. Maybe certain people had them like coming in 10th or at the very end, but I don't think anyone expected them to actually challenge a playoff run coming in. That's what they're doing now. Very dominant performance against WE. 2 solid games against WE so far, as we see here. Again, that encore coming out so beautiful by Angel. At this point, the Moonstone, the staff coming out as well, providing so much sustain, the movement speed, the damage, everything is there. And for Angel, the fact that he is able and willing and doing great on these champions like Zilean and Seraphine, but also can pull out the Akali, the Kassadin, these more brawly, skirmishy assassin champions. It's like really cool to see that Suning have these options to play through as well.
He's such a flexible player, and I think that's great. When Angel performed out of his mind on LNG, or versus LNG rather, he's doing it here again, but in a very different way. Suning up 2 games here, it is match point as WE have once again elected for blue Lyric. We do see the Jinx banned away as Jomong continued that 100% win rate, but this time it is going to be a little bit different. Draft feels like, as we're already seeing the 280 carry bans, it's going to be very different indeed.
I want to see if Suning ban the Kai'Sa here, because with you taking Jinx Tristana off the table, I feel like Kai'Sa is a very clear first S+ tier pick right now. Suning banning Tristana is just a response to the Jinx ban, right? If you don't have that to counteract that in lane and in team fights, they just don't want to go for it. So all eyes on Suning here. They did ban Kai'Sa last game.
They did. 5 seconds. Let's find out, ladies and gentlemen. You were anticipating the Kai'Sa, you got the Orianna. So at the very least, things going to change, and maybe they're happy to give it over as that first pick. Or
WE still valuing the Hecarim, which I do feel like Hecarim is the strongest champion in the meta.
Yeah.
He just does so much, right? Late game team fighter, fits well in a lot of comps. Again, I feel like the mobility creep has really made him strong in terms of like early ganks able to come out as well. Now for Suning, again, I'd love to see that pick come up. We already highlighted how Kai'Sa plus Hecarim can be very oppressive, but if Suning will opt to lock this one in, I don't think we'll see that. Typically, I feel like we're going to see something along the lines of maybe a Varus come out for Huanfeng, which it's a very non-Huanfeng champion, or, another hyper carry like an Aphelios.
It's interesting, right? Because, we've seen the Rel prioritize along with the AD pick twice, but with that overseen, it's Tarm with, okay, let's question to whether we really see the Varus. 8 seconds to find out. Or if we get the early jungle here before it's banned away. You picked it, Lyric, and even though it's not a him type of champion, it will be the partnership for game 3.
I mean, for context, Huanfeng has played 11 games of Varus in his career. In his career, he's played 310 games. So, again, hasn't really gone towards this champion all that much, but still, the thing I like about Tahm Kench's meta, he does extremely good into the Rel, into the Nautilus, into the Alistar, so that's why we've been seeing him pop up once again. I want to see what's in missing champion pool, because when a team blind picks Tahm Kench, it does open up other things. Like now for WE, the Braum can come out, especially now that we're seeing the Ezreal. You can see an Enchanter come out in the support position, whether it's a Karma, a Lulu, it opens up Bard, it opens up Brand. There's a lot of options, but with the Karma locked in, I think we should expect to see this one bot.
Yep.
Let's remember, it is a triple flex.
Yeah, it really is, and I guess I'll be questioning whether they want to put Shanks on it in the mid lane, but for now we'll consider it in the bottom lane. But drafts changed up already so much. The Twisted Fate, something that's been banned away before in both the first and the second phase.
I like this a lot. I really hope they decide to lock it in. It would set up really strong for a lot of cross-map plays coming out again, like great side pressure, great 1-3-1, great pick potential. You're going to be able to make plays where, again, Angel hovers around top. You can have Tahm Kench start roaming as well, hovering around mid with the Abyssal Voyage. It just feels like this will be a game where we're really going to get to see Suning's early mid-game, like that level 6 mark onward, and how good their mid-game can be.
I feel like for WE, we could say the same thing as well, right? When you pick Ezreal in the bottom lane, you're normally just happy to leave him on an isolated island and continue out. So does it feel like WE, you're looking towards the same thing as we start getting some of those solo lane bans?
Like, in a sense, yes, but right, two very different compositions so far, to where WWE are already signaling they want to be grouped up mid, they want to be fighting that 5v5, they want to be fighting over mid prio and who can walk into river and choke points first, to where Suning want to avoid that completely. They want to pool the members of WWE across the map, they want to pick them off. They are able to re-enter Dragon Pit or areas that have already been taken by WWE with the Destiny coming out, so this time's going to be cool because we're going to see two very different and distinct styles of gameplay.
Which is what I wanted to see, especially if this happens to be the last game with Suning's dominance so far. We don't have a ban for WE. I don't know if that's a bug or if they literally just missed a ban. We will find out for you because in a playoff series when you're 0-2 down, you definitely don't want to miss a ban, so let's hope.
At the same time, right, so that opens up a whole can of worms of pressure, nerves, what's going on in your head, where we've already highlighted, this is Breathe and Shank's first playoff series in the LPL. Yeah. So I think for WE, this one can be a bit concerning as we see the Xin Zhao ban come out. I'd love to see Suning pick up a jungler right here. I still think you can even go towards something like the Udyr, which is left open. We haven't seen it this series just yet, but it'll fit really well with that lockdown and that mid 2v2 that would come out. But it's SOFM, baby.
It's SOFM, I was about to say. It doesn't matter. There you go. There's Kane. So we have a lot of potential lethality if we do get the lethality. Varus, of course, has mainly been the on-hit. But, man, SOFM, like, he built Red Kane with Prowler's Claw. So anything's possible.
That's the thing is I want to see where he goes with this one because they have a lot of squishy targets on the side of WE so far, obviously heavily indexing into Jomung being the carry. When we did see Kane resurge back in the meta earlier on, it was all about that blue Kane with the assassination potential. Yeah. And for WE, they're going back to what's been comfortable in the Renekton pick. I think it is a bit better this time because it's not necessarily a bunch of champions that need to run forward, especially with the Zazir locked in now. This is, the most potent teamfight composition we've seen in this series.
It really is. And so for Suning, how do they round this out on the other side? When you talk about all the pick potential, when you look at what's left available, it is the top lane. You're going up against the Renekton, and Bin's got a wide champion pool as well. So do we get the boring one, Lyric? I think we do. We get the Gnar versus Renekton again, but hey, at least we got a different draft.
I think it's a good call, right? Because sure, you could go for the Jax. You have, some potential to outtrade level 1, and then again, make the lane volatile. You have the globals coming out with a Twisted Fate as well, but it'd be very easy for Beishong to just put a tent up at that lane and really shut him out from playing. So, gonna go back towards Gnar. I like that we see this. Again, you still will have the side lane control that you had last game and that you should have. But I feel like for this game, it's a lot about enabling SOFM on this Kane. That's what we're going to see both Angel's Twisted Fate and On's Tahm Kench utilized. Maybe see if any potential aggression could come out once he does get that transformation. And for WE, I think everyone watching knows what we're looking at. We're playing for those 5v5s. We're waiting for dragons. It's going to be about playing around those 5-minute windows in this game.
Yeah, it really is. And I think, very different sides now when we've seen 2 games of similar kind of drafts that want to operate differently but kind of round out at the end. And this is a nice thing to touch on, right? We're going into a game 3 where Suning know they have the advantage. Suning know they've been the better team so far, execution-wise and individually, I'd say as well, throughout many different lanes. And this does feel like Suning are honing in towards top esports, getting ready for their next matchup. Hopefully WE, with a different composition, a different thought, can start making this series competitive. Or rather, at least, start making the game score a bit competitive. As we run into game number 3, ladies and gentlemen, look at the Kane on SOFM. We'll watch his build path. We'll watch his evolution. See if we get a red Kane with the assassination potential again. Or if it's something a little bit different towards blue. So, for WE, sir, let's get that team fighting underway. See if Jomung and Shanks can carry as well towards the later part of the game. And as we enter Summoner's Rift, Suning a stacking bot. Now, Jomung is an Ezreal. Ezreal usually starts with the Mystic Shot. He's going to spot them out. But Suning, do they have the gap closed? No one's willing to commit a Summoner, so Jomung will just spot them and walk away.
Cheeky play coming out from Suning, but at the same time, right, in a series like this where you are 2-0 up, if you can find any kind of pick and early game advantage, it's going to feel so good. It's going to be really tough for WE, not only in terms of gameplay, but again, going back to that mentality that we talked about. Not much going to happen on either side, but kind of going over what we should expect to see in the early game. I actually don't expect too much coming out from Suning's comp.
Okay.
You have a Varus Tahm Kench in the bottom lane. That usually signals, you want to play safer. You're up against a Karma as well, so you're going to take continuous punishment. You do have setup in mid if you want to, chain Gold card into SOFM looking for a gank, but Azir is ultra safe. At most, I think he'd have to burn a flash, but if he's playing respectfully, he won't even have to burn that. And then when you look at top 2v2, you don't have any hard CC to lock anyone down, and I definitely think that's Beishang and Breathe favored. So until the level 6 mark, I think for Suning, you are farming, you are prioritizing getting SOFM ahead.
Yeah, just farming up in the jungle is all Kane's like to do. I also want to point out, last time we saw this Kane, he ran Teleport Smite. Unfortunately, we're not seeing that this time around, but it is the Electrocute. We just have to wait and see if he does the red or blue Kane, of course, for what we saw last time around. So pretty intrigued by this pick, as he's actually gone towards the opposite end of the rift. Was spotted out on a ward, I believe, as Beishang is now making his way over.
And, I would expect that Beishang will just opt to trying to go into, maybe either a mid gank and trying to turn that into some cross mapping into the topside jungle, but doesn't do that. Going to walk in his jungle, and actually looks like they didn't spot out SOFM when he came in.
Oh, okay.
Looks surprised that his Raptors aren't there, and he's just going to be behind. So Suning already executing on their game plan. Their game plan isn't necessarily any ganks, any early actions. It is just about getting this guy ahead. They're already doing that, and Beishang looking to respond in bot side with the fact that Zhongmeng and missing have prio.
Doesn't want to get triple buff, but Tahm Kench exists. Throw him back towards your side of the map. Smite down, and thank you so much. On, definitely on.
Yeah, nice to see the teamwork coming out from SOFM and on, but Beishang...
Eaten up yet
again.
They're
fine.
Beishang's still chasing him. Well, yeah, but let's just see if it goes any further. Ignite's down from missing the damage, at least to force him away from the Gromp, who is losing his patience. Teleport being burnt as well. This is going to evolve. Exhaust goes down onto Beishang. There's a gold card from Angel, and Suning strike first yet again. Zhongmeng with the Arcane Shift over the wall, slowed down thanks to Shanks, but he doesn't have too much mana, and Suning yet again evolve another level.
And they're going to still be able to secure the Scuttle Crab for SOFM. W not having the ability to follow up. Nice teleport coming out from Angel to make sure that they get that one. And you look at the waves as well. Waves are still in a good place for the side of Suning. Huanfeng walks back bot. The wave didn't crash into tower. He's still able to pick all that one up. And Angel gets to mid right as Shanks forces that one out. So Suning losing nothing on that play. Oh, on though.
Yeah, he flashes away. Huanfeng is still in a bit of trouble. Wait for this Mystic shot. Couple more autos. Flash forward by Zhongmeng, but eaten up by On.
Oh,
and Zhongmeng dies
God.
to the turret. Tahm Kench does that, man, and you got to respect it.
And the thing is, you can rationalize why he thought he could walk through River there. Because you look at that stacked minion wave, On probably thought he's fine. There's no way they're going to trade into me here, or even if they do, they will lose out. And sadly, we do see that that does end up being true with the flashes that are blown, with the Devour coming out as well. And this is just so heartbreaking to see from WE so far.
Lyric, this early game, man, is not looking too great, and it is a Halo Blades Varus. We didn't get a chance to talk about that because of how it's evolved. But he's now got 2 kills to his name. A tier double longsword after they thought they found On and Huanfeng.
Yeah, and we're going to get a replay of this again. Walks through, you see they do have the minion wave, so I feel like that's why On felt secure. Zhongmeng keeps going forward. And look, they are taking all this minion damage the whole time. Does go into turret with the flash. Just a bit too far forward, and it's unfortunate. But going back to that Halo Blades point, we don't see too much Halo Blades Varus. From what I have seen in solo queue and pro play, typically does signal the lethality coming out. Of course, it is stronger in the early trades than something like the lethal tempo. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where Huanfeng goes with that. But right now, we're looking at Breathe and Bin, but Breathe gets out just fine.
Yeah, he's playing it close to the chest there. If he gets locked down, I'm not sure if that's the same story we saw on our screens. But at the very least, take stock of the situation after what happened. Suning up 1,000 gold and then some. Beishang behind in his jungle as he got triple buffed by SOFM. SOFM a level lead for now as well, and he has the serrated Dirk, so it does feel like we're getting the traditional red Canes, rather blue, excuse me, as not sure what we're looking in the replay here. Oh, they tried to get bot, and 1v2 Huanfeng does a lot of damage.
And again, it looked like there was at least like 15 minions there, Hysterics, that they are trying to push through, not respecting at all. And They have bot prio. They're winning by 20 CS. SOFM's going to have no trouble at all taking this away. You already highlighted the serrated Dirk. On the opposite side, Beishang, of course, going for the Lucidity boots. The only place they have pressure is mid, which, you know, Shanks has the range advantage. He has Comet, which is the aggressive trading rune as well. So at least there's you know, a point of pressure somewhere. And even Breathe is doing just fine in this topside matchup.
Yeah, better than we've seen with most Renekton's against the Nas, so... as he escaped narrowly earlier, up about 2-4 CS there on the board, you can see. I'm taking stock of the map right now, Lyric, as the Dragon goes down to Suning. And as SOFM goes back to farming, I think his farming path as well will take him nicely towards the Herald, so it does feel like he's going to use that advantage he has with the serrated Dirk and a pretty calm bottom lane to try and push it further.
And the question is, as WE, how do you kind of prevent Suning's next play? Because the Destiny is already up on Angel.
True.
Typically, right, there's that old like tradition of you want to attack the global, but that's going to be very tough. Angel's playing very respectfully, playing far back. Also has the spell book. Oh my god.
Through. You know what? I'm trespassing right now if I'm SOFM. He spins one more time, gets the electrocute. Now, will he die is the biggest question. He has a flash over the wall, follows through, and Beishang took Ghost to the party. He'll survive, but the Scuttle BM, maybe it's worth it.
Still, I mean, he did get the Scuttle, right? I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure. I actually don't think it's too impactful that SOFM doesn't have his flash early on, right? Sure. Your Kane, you have like terrain scaling, you have way to traverse the map and find these early ganks if need be. We're still not at a point where there's any necessary 5v5 skirmishes coming out where, you know, maybe potentially need to find a flash angle onto Jomung or Shank. So still increasing his CS and EXP lead because he's a whole level up, 16 CS up, bot lane's winning, mid lane is fine. And top is in a good place as well. Again, there's no pressure on you. All the pressure is on W right now. And I feel like the first thing is you need to find a way to impact top because bot does feel bot kind of feels like a lost cause at this point in time. I feel like for Beishang, it's about hovering mid, playing with Shanks when he pushes out that wave once again, going towards top side. So even if it is like a 3v3 if Angel follows, I do feel like that is a 3v3 that is winnable by WE.
At least put those solo liners in great advantage. I like that you said bottom lane feels like a lost cause, especially when we do see the lethality virus that probably can take on a 3v2 with a Tahm Kench. As SOFM is down the bottom lane as well if anything erupts. Beishang there too. Breathe walking down just to pick up the lettuce. He went to Woolworths and came back after it was a bit rotten. And now for SOFM moving into the mid lane. He'll get spotted out by Shanks, just dancing with the soldiers. And you know what? Egypt was a pretty bold place to be, so I like that SOFM is willing to dance between the pyramids, but he'll back off as well after getting spotted out.
You know, I also want to highlight the fact that, you know, we're talking about all these options and, like, opportunities that, ooh, though, Bin. We find the solo kill, no, Dominus.
Yeah, Dominus does exist. Breathe will heal up a little bit there, but it's close, right? I mean, top lane, we expected it to be very fun in this series now. Within the realms of Nara and Renekton, it's been not bad.
I just appreciate you for confirming the fact that, you know, it does exist, but... oh,
True.
Destiny.
Hey, Destiny exists as well. Jomon gets
No
hit
flash.
with that. There's the Chains of Corruption onto Huan Fong. Yeah, give him more gold. Who's now 3-0 Varus.
And that's the thing, right? Missing's flash is just coming up now, wasn't up before. And this is what we were talking about, why we were highlighting, oh, maybe Beishang should try to play more on the top half of the map, because anytime you go for bot side, Angel will match. Even if SOFM isn't there, Huan Fong is so accelerated, it feels like there's no way they lose out on that skirmish. The thing for Beishang, though, and this was a point I was trying to make, is it's even hard to talk about what opportunities you can find, because you are so far behind in terms of you know, CS, XP, items. Any time, like if you make a play and it's not like a guaranteed kill, if you don't get something out of it, that is just more lost time and more time where SOFM is getting stronger. And when that next skirmish, when that next 2v2 does break out, it's going to feel almost impossible for the side of WE to win.
Right, because especially for a Hecarim, your base stats on Q, on your Rampage, are one of the biggest selling points where you are going through a full tank build. And Lyric, I think the biggest part is that EXP difference is going to hurt the most. 2 levels down against SOFM, who now has an Umbral Glaive. This dude going to be clearing some wards, adding a bit of lethality perks, and pretty much shredding anyone like Shanks and Jolmung this early on. This is scary to go up against, and this is when you know going up against a Kayn is going to be memorable.
And, you know, it gives him a bit of an earlier power spike. does complete a full item. It is, one of the cheapest, like, lethality items in the game, if not the cheapest. So this is the time where we want to see Suning really skirmish, and with the dragon coming up in 15 seconds, in my mind, there's no way that this dragon doesn't go over to the side of Suning. I think for WE, you just need to opt out.
Yeah, especially when this is happening in the bottom lane. Thank you for the scuttle yet again. Beisheng walking away with his tail between his legs, quite literally. And SOFM two-shotting wards. Dragon there in front of them for now, and SOFM doesn't want to start it yet. Remember, Beisheng does have the Rift Herald here lyrics, so maybe there's something you can get as your WE, but that one thing may not be the dragon.
That's the thing, is they definitely need to go look for a Rift Herald play. They're not going to, because they try to posture around mid lane. He was looking to gain some pressure. They're not going to be able to get anything again. You just keep your eyes on the minimap. Both Gnar and then Varus and Tahm Kench are pushing in. They can follow up at any moment. Beisheng, though, going to try to respond with a bottom lane gank.
Chains of Corruption. That exists.
It's all pointless, Hysterics. It's all pointless.
Man, you walk into the Varus, you just like, there's the CC, there's the ultimate. SOFM now joins the party in the bottom lane. And that's pretty much the end of the play, right? Wave's going to crash on in. That's free turret plating. And Dominus used up in the top lane here.
You remember what we said we wanted to see from Beisheng 2 minutes ago?
Tell me.
Go towards the top side.
Yeah, that's what you said.
It's done down there. You can't do anything. Again, Angel's respecting. You could try to find some kind of like Shurima shuffle play onto Angel and maybe try to delete him first, but he has Flash. He has Unsealed Spellbook if he needed a more defensive summoner. You go up towards top side. At this point, it would be rough because of that 2-level lead from SOFM. But at least before that really broke out so heavily in that favor, I feel like any kind of skirmish W could have won. They're finally going to try and look for it.
Finally, dude. It's going to be matched by Angel, though. But into the wall. Bin buys time. Teleport Burt as well. Missing's here. Jawmug's here. Everyone wants a piece of the bin. But he's just recycled it. The play done, and all you can get is a Herald while plates are still up and available.
I love that we see it. He plays up towards the wall. They do come in. He lands the ultimate. He's able to get away. WE at least will be able to get some plates out of this one, but the fact that you're not able to guarantee a full turret off your Herald is going to hurt. And we look at the gold right now. It's almost a 5k gold advantage for Suning.
It's 13 minutes of the game. You're right. 5,000 gold.
We have a mythic, Hysterics. We have a mythic.
We do. Well, we have a Tay-Ram up in the top lane. Suning now dissemble, so do WE. Everyone backs away after 5 was sent into the position, and lanes get a little bit staggered. Look at where Gnar is. It's Bin who's just matching Shanks, rather, for now. While in the bottom side, Breathe is comfortable down there, so we are just crisscrossing for the time being.
I also want to highlight a point about how these compositions interact now that Suning have such a massive lead, because we pointed out before, right? Suning want to make the map big, W want to make the map small. W want the, those close, front to back 5v5 team fights. Suning want to play out their side lane pressures. The thing is, now that Suning are winning in every area, Gnar's ahead, Varus is ahead, TF's even ahead from the, the amount of passive gold they're getting from taking objectives and winning out on these fights. You're going to have constant push in those lanes. You're going to be able to keep WE pulled apart. And the only way that WE will be able to force any kind of team fight is if they opt into losing objectives on the side lane. Which, when you're in an even position, I actually think is fine in this meta that's so heavily favored around Dragon. But when you're this far behind, it is not.
Yeah, it really isn't, because it's going to go from bad to worse. To correct myself before, A-Rat, I believe, is how you say all random, all top. I had a bit of a moment. But as SOFM misses out on his red buff, yeah, look, hey, I mean, this has been a series of moments, right, where coming into this one, we thought, it was going to be, I thought it was going to be WE favored. I thought, Beisheng's going to take over. SOFM's one thing, but Beisheng's another. But it really has been the SOFM show yet again, especially within this game, especially within the intelligent pathing that we know him for. And it just feels like the next couple of minutes until this next dragon, or at least until we get to Soul Point, that we are just going to keep talking up Suning in this game with the way it started.
And they're trying to make this play on top, but you look at the minimap, Tahm Kench and Varus are already making their way over. SOFM is already here. Everfrost comes out, but I don't think anything will be able to be made from this. I just want to go back to your point before where you're like, hey, I thought W would be able to come out ahead, because just talking about our expectations and our predictions, right? I did predict Suning to win the series, but I predicted 3-2. I thought it would be a much closer affair than this, as did almost all of us on the casting team, and even other, expert opinions out who do follow LPL I've seen is like, hey, this is going to be a close series. These are two teams where, again, there's no like obvious exploitable weakness, other than if they face a team who can maybe like lane gap them, like a team like Top Esports, but this was a bit surprising. This one, though, did look like nerves hit WE a bit, at least in terms of their bottom lane. We did see Jomung and Missing just kind of throw that one away. You know, it is a bit unfortunate when he flashed into turret early on, but they just haven't really been able to recover from that point.
Which is kind of ironic because remember, the last 3-4 years, WE haven't made it past the second round. This is the second round right here where they were birthed into, waiting for the winner out of Suning out of LNG. Suning versus LNG, rather, excuse me. So it just feels like WE forever cursed for the time being. 2017, the last time they found their success, the last time they had a glorious year in the LPL. Forever stuck here at the birthing of playoffs. And here, this could be the final moments as Jomung's walking through. Raptors are there waiting for him. And you notice, Suning got eyes on different prizes. The dragon that's going to lead to Soul Point is now spawning for SOFM.
And the thing is, WE can't contest, and you don't really have an option to look for picks around your Azir. We even see Angels is constantly hovering around the bottom half of the map. Top lane turret is pretty much down. It's like, again, like a false sense of security for the side of Angels, so I like that he's playing far back. But I'm really curious to see Hwanfeng's damage after this game, because you think about it, he was stuck, you know, sitting in that isolated 2v2 laning phase this whole time, ahead as Lethality Virus, just throwing out these Qs constantly. It's probably going to be off the charts. 60 CS advantage.
And the Manamune almost fully stacked, right? This is a 2-item virus that will one-shot. And I guess the only thing keeping them partially alive is missing shields. The arrows leave the quiver, looking for a target yet again. And Hwanfeng, watch this once more, looking for Beisheng. That is a tank. The fact that that did, 1/8 of his health is still impressive. As the Chain of Corruption comes out. Hwanfeng does get pretty hard, and that ulti not being up is a threat down against WE.
And WE are finally in a position where, they should feel okay. It's like, hey, we're grouped as 5. The problem is there's nothing to convert this into.
Bin was spotted out. He's going into Mega Narf. Feels like a team that will just fight anyway, as Missing sends out some zone control, and WE back away. Herald is up, so maybe WE head towards their SOFMs on the bot side.
Problem is, Bin's just going to create this pressure in the bottom lane once again, and it goes back to the argument of like, hey, if WE want to be able to force that kind of 5v5 team fight, which they're very behind now, so I'm not even sure if they would win it. My guess is probably not. But even if they do force that, Bin will just get too much in the bottom lane.
SOFM busy against Jomung, though, waiting to ult. The Umbral Trespass will not be used in case the Ezreal takes him into turret, and that's well held. As look to finish the kill off. You can see every virus wants it, but too far away is Jomung.
Now we're just going to see Suning do a great job of continuing to control vision. I love that SOFM just continuously getting punished, but an interesting point about Vision and the fact that he did go for the Umbral Glaive first, right, is that when you are this far ahead and your team's not really lacking for any sort of like damage or immediate power spike out of your jungler, and you are playing this pick comp that is about, right, using globals, catching people who are too far forward, or when you are denying vision, it feels like this is an item that is really just going to push Suning the extra mile to just increase their lead, rather than him, had he gone straight forward, a Prowler's Claw.
So part of the reason why I just love things like, the Pantheon support who could build it, right? Before we had the mythic items. Cheap item in lethality, as you said earlier, but also the fact that you contribute so much to the vision control of your team. Look at the ward score for SOFM. At 19 minutes in the game, he's got a 42 ward score, which is more than any support on the Rift by a decent amount. It's just kind of showing you the control he's adding to this game. He's scouting out for the wards, as you can see, towards the top side river, and then going back to farming in the interim.
Ooh, Breathe, though. Probably going to get run down by Bin. He does have the Strikebreaker available.
Minions in the way. Beisheng here to counter the play. Missing on the other side as well. Hops over. Misses a stun, but knows that WE's there, so plays it cautiously.
That's the good thing about, WE's comp, right, is you have Karma, you have Hecarim. Have movement speed buffs. They're at least able to, get in place to try to counteract a play like that very easily. Bin does have to back off. Angel answers on the opposite side of the map. So, still, Suning are the ones coming out ahead, but when you have this type of gold lead, and I do believe League of Legends is still a very snowbally game, even if it it isn't what it was back in, like, season 3 or season 4. When you're the team with the gold advantage, you are the team who has the map control. You are the team who has all the options. WE really only are able to play on the back foot and try to counteract what Suning do.
Sitting at the inner turrets like Missing and Jomong, or trying to farm jungle while they're not there. But look at Huanfeng's damage, man. He now has a Last Whisper as well. So in comes another arrow again. It's like versing Legolas. And you're Gimli. You're a short man who can't really run far. And Legolas outranges you. So pretty unfair in the matchup.
I'm just saying, aren't they supposed to be like relative equals in terms of power levels? Isn't that how the whole series sells it to you?
You're literally the orc with the pink head versus Legolas. In the final battle in the Return of the King. I'm talking movies, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, definitely Legolas diff. That feels like the case in this third game. Suning hunting again. Beishang just checked that brush, and SOFM hops on in, gets a couple of stacks, and he's still not evolved, by the way, so just looking for some orbs.
Yeah, that's the kind of most perplexing thing here. I also kind of want to move on from that and just highlight the fact that Angel already has rapid fire cannon, so going to be able to do so much.
Well, towards next dragon, eh? Onward and upwards. WE, don't want to give this one over. You've got Soul Point at 22 minutes in the game. Mountain Soul's a nuisance. Especially when, wow, okay, the arrows are flying through. And WE trying to stop this one, Lyric.
WE are trying. They have their members here. Breathe is going for the back. He's going to try and TP in, but there's no flank ward to go to. I'm actually kind of surprised that Suning just respect this one and back off. Finn is nowhere close to Mega, but still.
Maybe it's a ruse.
They're going to go for it.
Destiny's Gate. Where's it going to? I haven't seen this Twisted Fate behind enemy lines. The poke coming through again. Dragon resets. Angel's in with a gold card onto Missing. He's drawing them in as the Everfrost finds a 2-man stun. Bin not into Mega though, and SOFM over the wall. Baiting them yet again as Breathe has a full Fury bar. But the Dragon, the damage is going down way too quick. WE need to make a decision. Beishang on Sword of Shadows. He doesn't take it away. There's the Mountain Soul, and Suning find the first. Angel zoning them away. Bin does it again. The Na's unhappy with his current living situation and takes it out on WE. Goodbye, World Elite, and hello, Suning.
And Suning do it again. It just comes down to one massive team fight where they're able to step up. They already had the advantage. Beishang not able to win the smite fight, as he really shouldn't be able to. He was level 10. SOFM was level 12. Bin finding an amazing ultimate, and they're going to be able to convert this one into a Baron.
Man, Suning, this just looks like a riffy-diffy yet again. Not like what we saw with LNG, but Suning's decision-making is prime, is key. It's 8-0 Lyric. It's an 8k gold lead that will extend to 10,000. Mountain Soul and the Purple Worm adds on to Suning here, and this is just a game to behold yet again as we rewatch.
And we're going to see WE know they need to go for this one, right? It's Soul Point. He goes for the steal. He's not able to get it. That is Soul confirmed for the side of Suning. He's now locked down. He pretty much gave his life for that, right? He had to go for the 50-50. Bin jumps in, gets an insane ultimate. SOFM able to follow up over the wall as well. Goes in with the ultimate. Angel's there, and, they're just making it look so easy, Hysterics.
They really are.
8-0. 10k gold lead. The fact that they are able to play out through sides means this is going to be almost impossible for WE to look for any kind of defense, and Suning are probably strong enough to where they can even just probably dive inhibitor turrets.
Just force it in, right? Kane finally evolved here with Edge of Night for SOFM. 2.5 items strong here. Also note Serelda's grudge for Huanfeng, so he has an icy touch to the tip of his arrows, and 5-0-1, it has been Huanfeng diff. It has been diff across the rift as WE are trying to mitigate that back. Everfrost, the burst. Down goes the top laner front line as Beishang's left to his own devices. Angel in the back line, and WE thought they had the pick. This was WE who thought they had everything. The rapid fire cannon gold card nets the start of a double. Shank sends the Emperor, or rather the soldiers, out to keep him alive, but he's the only one left alive at this point. SOFM on the chase, and you just know that his Emperor of Egypt is saying goodnight for a final time.
Just great performance coming out from Suning, the diversity in their picks, the way they're able to play out through these sidelines, their team fighting. It's just been such a pleasure to watch. Such a dominant, unexpected 3-0 by Suning.
Against LNG, it was a quick 3-0. Against WE, they don't care. They've got a dinner date with top esports. ready to hit into the top 4. Ladies and gentlemen, Suning are definitely on with or without Sword Art.
And I know it's something we're going to talk about later, but just really quick, we're getting the rematch once again, the grudge match that's kind of forming between TS and Suning, right? We had the LPL semifinal, World semifinal, and we're going to get it once again. Just great performance all around, and it's so nice to see Suning kind of ramp up to this form slowly. It's obviously becoming like a meme and a trend with Suning is start off the split slow, kind of slowly ramp up. They did have to adjust to lineup changes, and of course, coaching changes. Though they didn't gain any new coaches, they of course did lose Cha Xiao, so a lot of adaptation, but Suning are still on point.
And I think for me, important enough to let everyone know that, you know, losing Sword Art, we did have concerns at first towards the start of the split. You and I both, and you know, a lot of the rest of the team thought this would lower down Suning, but they've really ramped up. You're right. They've become this menace. And against Top Esports, you told me in the break, they're 1-1 right now. Lost, or rather won in the World semi-final. Here in the LPL, were absolutely beaten to less than an inch of their life by Top Esports during the time. And we got to settle the score in 2 days' time.
We do, and that's going to be a good one to see. I feel like SOFM once again having an amazing series, so seeing him up against Karsa. His laning phase was just, you know, pretty good the whole time. Obviously in game 1, there was some blunders. I think it was a bit maybe overconfident thinking that the Zillion ultimate could work to get him in lane, but still, I think overall had a solid performance. Great Meganar ultimates. And then we look at the bot lane. The bot lane's doing exceptionally well, and On being the biggest surprise because On was by far the weakest member on this team, as he should be as a rookie support coming into this lineup, but it's just great. We're even getting into a meta that I feel like favors Suning. The Tom Kenches being able to be played, 1-3-1 and side lane champions are coming in. It's like Suning are inching closer to their comfort zone.
I just love the Game 3 draft as well, right? Because I'll be honest, you know, the first two, the similarities as a play-by-play, you never like to see it, I guess as a fan as well. But seeing a draft like that has a very different function, right? You talked about the pick composition. Suning played it quite measurably, but again, it all started with this jungler. SOFM got triple buff, got a lead in the jungle, didn't evolve till 20 plus minutes, but still maintained control more so than Beisheng in this third one.
That was the funny thing, right? Because, I mean, W even, like, pseudo expected it to happen. They dropped that ward. The Observer wasn't on it, so we didn't actually get to see how SOFM got around that one, but they clearly didn't know. Took away not only his buff, but then also his Raptors. Goes back to his jungle. Suning play around it so well. We even see Angel coming out with the TP. They defend. They then pick up another kill. And it was just a chain of events because then On walks back to bot lane through River. Could be very dangerous. Looks very greedy. They have a massive minion wave. Jomung then oversteps and flashes under turret. And from there, it's like you're giving Suning their most comfortable style, which is playing through side lanes, and they already have this big advantage.
I love that you mentioned that, because that definitely felt like the epitome of the series, like close but too far for WE. Jomung, you know, going in and getting a bit hyphy, whether it's nerves or otherwise, we can't say, not being within the team environment, but it is sad because I think WE were capable of so much more. I think this was capable of a 5-game series with WE in their purest form, but you know, much like the end of the split, it felt like WE were getting outclassed. Here, though, against Suning, it does feel like Suning were the ones outclassing for sure.
I do want to touch on WE real quick, right? Because as we said during the series, WE are now just out of playoffs. There's no double elim in this phase of playoffs. So as kind of my thoughts of WE, it's like, hey, they came in. It obviously didn't work out. I didn't really like that they tried to run their draft back 2 games in a row in game 1 and 2, but this roster still hasn't met the potential of what I think a lot of people think it could hit with the players they have. Sure. I still don't think they've completely incorporated Shanks completely into the lineup. They don't really play around Breathe at all. As when you look at his share of team's damage, it's like 21% on OMG. He was the hyper carry. And we look at their bot lane. It's like their bot lane definitely performed a lot worse than they did in 2020. So, you know, there were some growing pains with WE, despite the fact that they were still a top team. It does still feel like there's ways for individual players to grow and like their system to grow as a whole. And I still think they're an exciting team to look towards for the future because they are the youngest team in LPL in terms of just like age of players and how long a lot of these players have been playing. They're a very young team.
They are, and I think that's why, you know, you can be disappointed, but you can also be like, well, let's be realistic. There's a long way to grow. And that's what makes these guys exciting, right? Like, WE still have the same feel as they did in 2017. It's just about, continuing to polish and prime themselves up, getting ready for that next split. So we'll see if WE are able to overcome. That's it, as Lyric said before. There is no lifeline here in this King of the Hill bracket. Suning now go up against Top Esports and revitalizing that game for anyone that missed out. Just look at the near perfection. This was the dominance. One turret was all that WE got. It was a killless game for this team. And it seemed like nothing they can do was right. So feels real bad. And I'm now pretty excited to wait for Suning versus Top Esports that you and I will be casting to see if the journey goes even further than that.
It's gonna be interesting because, right, Top Esports are a team that, I mean, they lane Kingdom you or they just end up losing. And one point of the map we need to pay attention to is that bottom lane. But at least for this game, a bottom laner is our MVP because you saw Huanfeng's damage, you saw the way they punished Joe Among's mistakes. He stepped up and he just made it oppressive for WE to play against.
He did. Huanfeng, we'll bring it up on the screen for you, as Lyric said, MVP. Well deserved here from the AD carry, who just lane dominance in the end, but we saw the early kills make a big contribution. This lethality virus doing 40% damage. And everyone expected him to be the Legolas of the game, and he was, so... Feels really good to talk about Huanfeng yet again in this split, when I think Huanfeng has been one of the better performing members as an individual AD carry within team fights, right? Like, Huanfeng has had pop-off games.
I'll be honest, even this split, I still rank him as a top 4 AD carry in the LPL, if not, top 3. I think there's an argument. I think like Viper and JackeyLove are clearly in that conversation. But when you look at Huanfeng, it's like, sure, their bot lane as a whole had I'd say disappointing split, but then you add in onto the conversation who, again, was having a lot of issues on his first time on stage. Huanfeng, I think, has been an exceptional performer all split long, even despite the issues that Suning themselves had. And again, they came into this game, SOFM had a very interesting path, punished WE, and then they were able to convert that into forcing WE or putting WE in two positions where they make mistakes on bot side, and then like, Huanfeng just never let the game go. He never gave them a chance. You think about it, what can you do as Ezreal Karma in that lane where Varus comes back, he has a serrated Dirk, you don't even have any money to buy even a component of an item, and now you're just trapped. Even when they tried to like send Beishang down to gank him, throws out the Chains of Corruptions, lays down another Q, Beishang is now also half HP.
That's right, you can't get into the lane, and from there it's just like, well, we can't touch bottom lane. I do like that in game you mentioned the pathway that Beishang could have taken towards the top side, but those are tangents that are maybe for another day when we do break down WE in the future, when we look at their run towards summer. And I think in playoffs, I mean, if I'm comparing the two sides of the bracket, even though it's only been a couple of rounds now, Lyric, it does feel like Suning have had the most dominant games out of anyone, right? RA, IG, bit of a scrap. FPX, RA, in a sense, FPX were a little bit scrappy too. Suning have absolutely slammed the ham sandwich down. They've upgraded to Turkey. And I'm excited to watch them against Top Esports. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to throw to an interview with Wendy. I didn't find out who it was, but you'll soon see as Suning are on stage.
Hi everyone, welcome to interview, and here we have On from Suning with us. So congratulations on this another very clean 2-0 victory. So do you think as a whole team, you guys are really on a very high note and have a very good momentum at this moment? 那首先恭喜你们今天又是一个很漂亮的3-0早早下班。那你有没有觉得现在队伍的状态非常非常火热，一个非常好的一个状态呢？
有的，我们状态是挺火热的。
Yes, I also think we are on super good momentum currently. And also, let's move on to today's game, because in game 2, the opponent team WE, they have got the exact same draft as that of the game 1, but you guys placed more meticulously in the early game. So could we know more about the early game communication in game 2? 那其实对面他们在第2局是选出了和第1局完全相同的一个阵容的，但是你们好像第2局在前期处理的更加小心翼翼了一点。然后想问一下，你们可能第2局的一个前期整体的沟通或者战术思路是怎么样的呢？
第2局我们的整体思路就是发育吧，战术就是往后面越往后面越好打吧，我们的阵容。
So basically in game 2, we try to just scale up well and try to do some farmings in the early game, because if we drag the time to the late game, definitely we think we were able to be stronger than the opponent's team. And also Yorel in both game 1 and 2 have super gorgeous performance, especially making those hard engagement, and you got the MVP for game 1. So do you think like currently you are taking more responsibility in making the shot calls for the team fight, and who's the main shot caller maybe in the mid game team fights or making those decisions?
那其实你第一局和第二局的瑞尔发挥都特别亮眼，特别是一波一波的强开，第一局也斩获了 MVP 嘛。那你现在有没有可能承担了一些更多的一些指挥的部分呢？然后队内可能一般在中期进行决策的时候，都是谁来进行一个指挥的呢？
我比之前沟通确实要好很多吧，在中期可能大家5个人都会指挥吧。
Definitely, I think in terms of my own performance, I really improved a lot in making the team's communication. But I think in making the shot call, the 5 of us will make the shot call together in the mid game. And you guys were able to have a very clean best of 5. And my next question is, in game 3, we have noticed that Huan Feng's Varus got this Hill of Blaze. So could we know the reason for that? Is this because you're facing against Azura and Karma? Because the opponent's body can be quite dominant in the early laning phase, and you guys tended to play around the bot lanes, so it was a strategy for game 3.
那当然，你们第3局表现得特别好嘛。然后第3局，而且我们也注意到幻风的维鲁斯他也出了从刃这个符文。然后想问一下，这样出的一个原因是什么？是因为面对的是 EZ 还有卡尔玛的这样的一个前期可能比较有进攻性的一个下路组合吗？然后而且你们也是主打下路，想问一下前期的一些战术安排是怎么样的呢？
前期的话就尽量发育吧，幻风带重刃确实是因为下路换血需要重刃吧。
So for the game 3, we try to do the more farmings in the early game, and in terms of the Hail of Blade from Huan Feng's Varus, it is because this can get more benefits in the trade from the laning phase. And also you have so many gorgeous performance, and this is your first LPL split, and I believe some audience from other regions may not be so familiar with your playstyle. So what kind of player do you think you are?
那其实这也是你来到 LPL 的第1个赛季嘛，就我们展现出很好的一个面貌。然后其实很多国外的观众可能并不太熟悉你，那你觉得自己是一个怎么样打法风格的选手？评价一下自己吧。
我觉得我自己是一个打法偏稳健的选手吧。
I think I'm a player that have a more stable play style. But in the next matchup, you're going to face against a body top esports. Their body can play super aggressive in the especially in the early game. So do you have the confidence to take them down, maybe?
那么你说你自己打法比较稳健嘛，但是接下来你们的对手滔博的下路组合，他们可是前期就打很凶的一支队伍嘛。然后你有没有信心在下一场比赛也斩获胜利呢？
我有信心。
Yeah, I got the confidence to take them down. And best of luck for the next best of 5, and congratulations again. 再次的恭喜你们，下场比赛要加油。And back to you guys. Bye bye.
Thank you, Wendy. And I mean, he's a new player, right? His debut season is nerve-wracking for him. Being in his first ever playoffs as well, when he has big shoes to fill, when On has been, I'm sure, not only scrutinized by the English-speaking audience, but also the Chinese audience. So good to see him playing quite well, getting an MVP to his name as well, and hopefully he can get over that, going into top esports. And I'm not too surprised that, he looks a little bit nervous there, and he's coming back with his one-word answers. Yeah, I'm confident against top esports.
I do want to say I really love how we have it in LPL, where we have so many teams that will have like a rookie player alongside a bunch of like legends or proven players. Because again, it feels like, sure, it might drag the team down earlier on. It could be like very hard mentally to get there, but it gives you that breathing room as well to improve.
That's right, and it feels like he's got a long way to go, but also made a lot of developments. So congratulations to On. Congratulations to Suning with a 3-0. We'll show you the bracket, ladies and gentlemen. If you just tuned in, I'm sorry, but there's always next time. We come back every single day. And you may not expect it, but we're back tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, same time tomorrow with JDG versus FPX. That's going to be a banger as well, considering that we have some of the newer organizations that have brought in success into the LPL in their past years.
I mean, in these next 2 matches are going to be so fun. Actually, just the rest of the matches throughout playoffs, I think are going to be very hard to predict who's going to win, right? RNG and EDG up there, JDG, FPX. I think, again, theoretically could go either way. Top Esports versus Suning. We're gonna have this Lane Kingdom style coming out from Top Esports. They have an average 2.5k gold lead at 15 minutes against Suning, who are willing to drop objectives, play a bit slower, and it seems like play more around their power spikes, and how their comps actually play out are more of a side laning team. It's like, it's going to be really cool. I think there's a lot of stylistic differences that are going to make these last matches very entertaining.
And I think people need to remember as well, folks, whoever wins these next two series gets a lifeline. Up against RNG and EDG, you get a second chance if you mess up. So we got our best of fives heating up. These ones are important. Who's going home and who's going on to win? Man, I was going to say Mike Kitchen rules or something, but JDG and FPX, look, this should be a banger. Nevertheless, you know, world champions versus recent LPL champion of 2020 spring. And JDG looking really good form. So for FPX, it's going to be a hard one.
And I know there's been some question marks around Nuggery's recent form, but still Nuggery against Zoom. It is a matchup you love to see. We obviously did get it at Worlds in the group stage, so I'm hyped for that one. Zoom has been looking like a top 2 top laner, if not the best top laner, I'd say, in a lot of people's eyes of this split. He's been, I'd say, the MVP for JDG, but Yagao stepped up in recent series. Kanavi is, you know, looking back in it with his soul laners doing quite well, and they're still linking up with Lumao. So it's like, hey, we're going to get our first look of JDG in playoffs, and we're going to see if FPX have cleaned up their performance that they showed against RA, though it still was a 3-1, and I think Tien especially showed great games. So tomorrow going to be a bit of a barn burner.
A lot to be desired. It also almost felt like it was going to a game 5 as well. But folks, that's tomorrow. Playoffs continues all the way up until the 8th. Every single day we have one. So we'll end up seeing you tomorrow. Big thank you to Lyric. Thank you to our English production as always. It is very good to be back with you, sir. Good to be back in general. It is bye for now, but not forever. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thinking about you lately. I'm thinking that we should. I won't say nothing, baby. Nah, where you been, girl? I say you looking hotter. You know I could always do you better. Switching positions whenever fed up. Let me show you. You look so good, let me see you work it. Proposition on the side, you deserve it. No competition, girl, you 5-star service. Commit up after you finish working. You got the 5-star service. you love it when I go faster. I'm loving your interior, no, I wouldn't change it. Body is superior, other ones are basic. Thought you was inferior, you're wrong, you're amazing. Hey, nah, where you been, girl, that's where you looking hotter. You know I could always do you better. Switching positions for nothing better. Let me show you. You look so good, let me see you work it. Proposition on the side, you deserve it. No competition, girl, you 5-star service. Think we can meet up after you finish working. You got that 5-star service. You got that 5-star service. You look so good, let me see you work it. Proposition on the side, you deserve it. No competition, girl, you 5-star service. Think we can meet up after you